$3,000 for a luxury hotel stay. $1,000 for meals at fancy restaurants. $500 at a famous spa. What is all this? I glanced at the credit card statement, something I usually leave for my husband to handle. The list of expenses was shocking, huge amounts for reservations during the same time period. These weren't ordinary expenses, they were dates. My husband, who's on the PTA board at our daughter's middle school, had told me he was going on a retreat. Even though I'm not involved with the PTA, I could easily figure out what this really meant. Glenn became a stay-at-home dad so I could focus on my demanding job as a nurse. Thanks to him, I've been able to work long hours at the university hospital without worrying about the house or our daughter. I thought he was the perfect husband, selfless, devoted, but now, I realize his intentions might not have been so noble. Quietly, I took something and slipped it into his wallet. Then, I made a phone call. He'll be leaving in a week, likely full of excitement. I hope this trip will be unforgettable for him. My name is Maggie. I work as a nurse at a university hospital, where my schedule is so packed that days and nights blur together. The only reason I can keep going is because of Glenn, my husband. He always supported my career, even when I struggled to balance work and marriage. He decided to stay home and take care of everything so I could pursue my dream job. Glenn even joined the PTA at our daughter Sasha's school, ignoring any judgment from others about being a stay-at-home dad. Sasha was proud of him, and so was I. As the breadwinner, I worked hard to support my family. But one day, I got a call from the credit card company. I had recently changed the debit account, and the payment hadn't gone through, causing an overdraft. Ugh, how did I forget this? I quickly opened my credit card statement to fix it. Normally, I leave all the finances to Glenn, so I hadn't looked at the statement in years. What I saw nearly made my heart stop. The total amount on the statement was shocking. I panicked, trying to figure out what I could have spent so much on. But no matter how hard I thought, I couldn't recall buying anything extravagant. I decided to dig deeper into the details. That's when I noticed a long list of purchases I didn't remember making: designer clothes, famous perfumes, a luxury watch brand. I liked those brands, but I hadn't bought anything from them. For a moment, I wondered if Glenn, who also had access to the credit card, might be planning a surprise, but I hadn't received anything from him. What stood out the most was the timing. All the purchases were made on Wednesdays. Wednesdays were the nights I worked late shifts, and it also happened to be the day Glenn attended PTA board meetings. What was going on? I decided to confront him as soon as I got home. Feeling anxious, I rushed back, but just before I reached the house, I heard someone call out. "Hi, Maggie, long time no see, coming back from work?" It was Tara, a fellow PTA member and one of the few moms I knew from school. "Oh, hi, long time," I replied awkwardly. "Thanks for always helping Glenn. I hope he's not too much trouble." I didn't know what else to say, so I just went with something neutral. She laughed and lightly patted my shoulder, teasing me about being distant. But as she moved closer, I caught a whiff of her perfume. It was a familiar scent, the exact one from the brand I'd noticed on the credit card statement. I'd wanted to buy that perfume for myself, but never did. I remembered the scent clearly. "Smells nice. Is that the one I wanted? Did you get it?" I asked, not even sure why I said it. Was it jealousy? Curiosity? I felt foolish for even bringing it up. Still, the timing nagged at me. The purchases were all made on Wednesdays, and now here was a PTA mom wearing that same perfume. My mind started spinning with uneasy thoughts. Tara didn't notice my suspicion. She just smiled and said cheerfully, "Oh, this? It was a gift. It was our anniversary recently." She laughed, looking genuinely happy. "That's so sweet. You two must be really in love," I replied, trying to sound casual. We chatted a bit more, then said goodbye. I felt relieved. It made sense. She got the perfume as a gift for her anniversary. Tara was always so bubbly and cheerful. Even after becoming a mom, she talked about her anniversaries with such warmth. But then, something clicked. She didn't say husband. I froze in my tracks, replaying the conversation in my mind. Then, without thinking, I turned back to where I'd left her. But she was gone. The thought of following her was overwhelming. Could it be? Was there something going on between her and Glenn? That small seed of doubt grew into something I couldn't ignore. The following Wednesday, my family sent me off to work as usual, but I had other plans. I asked my colleagues to let me leave early without telling Glenn. If he knew, it would ruin everything. I waited near our home, watching from a distance. Not long after, my mother-in-law arrived to watch Sasha, and Glenn left for his PTA meeting. Everything seemed normal. I followed him to the school, where the board meeting took place. It lasted about half an hour, and then most members left quickly, but Glenn was the last to leave, walking arm in arm with Sarah. They were holding hands, their fingers intertwined, and gazing into each other's eyes. They headed straight for a hotel. I followed just a few steps behind, unnoticed. Tears streamed down my face as I watched. I had trusted him, I had loved him. Was my hard work just a convenience for him to do this? Standing there, crushed by betrayal, I checked my phone. The latest credit card charge confirmed the hotel bill he had just paid. Hours later, they came out of the hotel, smiling and happy. I didn't cry anymore. Instead, I calmly took pictures of them together. My heart had already turned cold. After that day, I avoided Glenn as much as I could, using work as an excuse. I didn't want to face him. Deep down, I was ready to divorce him, but I worried about Sasha, taking her away from her father, moving, changing schools. Those thoughts weighed heavily on me. Late one night, as I sat crying in the living room, Sasha's voice startled me. "Mom?" She had woken up and seen me crying. Quietly, she came over and hugged me. "I don't want you to be sad, Mom. Your enemies are my enemies. I won't forgive anyone who hurts you, not even Dad." Her words broke me. I sobbed uncontrollably, letting out all the emotions I had bottled up. Gratitude, sorrow, and everything else came pouring out. "If I divorce your dad, things will change," I told her. "We might have to move, and you won't see him every day. You might even have to change schools and leave your friends." But she just held my hands tightly and said, "I still want to be with you, Mom. I'll be fine. Please do what makes you happy." Her support gave me the courage to move forward with my plan. By then, I had started checking my credit card statements regularly. I discovered Glenn had planned a week-long trip and called it a PTA retreat. It didn't add up. What kind of parents both leave their child at home for an entire week? The charges on the card confirmed my suspicions: luxury hotels, fine dining, a surprise cake. He clearly thought I wouldn't notice, but now, I had all the evidence: the transaction records, the hotel booking, and even the restaurant details. I had once been grateful to Glenn for quitting his job to be a stay-at-home dad so I could focus on work. I worked hard to provide for our family because I trusted him, but he had used my trust to betray me and play around. Don't mess with me. On my next day off, I began my revenge. First, I called the hotel and restaurants he had booked, pretending to be his wife, which I was. I canceled all the reservations. The staff didn't suspect a thing. Later that night, I took his wallet from the living room. Inside was his only credit card, the one linked to our family account. I swapped it with an expired card and put the wallet back where I found it. He rarely used his card, so he wouldn't notice right away. Now, the wheels were in motion. Glenn's credit card had been renewed 6 months ago, but I had never thrown out the old one. My laziness paid off. I was amazed at myself for still having it. The expired card looked identical to the new one, but it wouldn't work if used. It only needed to fool him until he was far from home. "I'm leaving now," Glenn said with a big smile. "We're going to have lots of discussions to make the school better. Sasha, take good care of your mom, okay?" Sasha and I smiled back, waving him off. I could have slapped him, but instead, I felt oddly calm. This was the last time I would ever see him. "Let's get started," I said. "Yes," Sasha replied with determination. The moment he was out of sight, our smiles disappeared. We sprang into action, packing our belongings as quickly as possible. The movers arrived shortly after, and thanks to their efficiency, we were moved into our new home in no time. "Excuse me, where should these boxes go?" one of the movers asked. "Oh, don't worry about them, just leave them there," I replied. The boxes were all Glenn's belongings. Another moving company arrived to pick them up and deliver them elsewhere. By the time we were done, the house was completely empty. In the living room, where we had shared so many memories, I left a stack of credit card statements and the photos I had taken of him and Sarah. Next to them were my wedding ring, now meaningless, and the signed divorce papers. As I finished up, I noticed a flood of missed calls on my phone, all from Glenn. He must have realized something was wrong during his trip. Too bad for him. To avoid his interference, I claimed to be busy with emergency surgeries at the hospital. I let my phone vibrate endlessly in a drawer until the call stopped. By the time I checked again, my call history was cleared. Sasha and I couldn't help but laugh at how smoothly it was going. "Oh, right, I should make one last call," I said. "Yeah, that's a good idea," Sasha replied with a grin. Together, we made the call. Later that week. "What's going on here, Maggie, Sasha, anybody home?" Glenn came back from his week-long affair, still in a cheerful mood, but his smile faded when he saw the empty house. He froze, staring at the divorce papers, the photos, and the credit card statements I had left behind. He tried calling me over and over, but, of course, I had blocked him. Then his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Hoping it was me, he eagerly answered. "Hello, Maggie, is that you? What the hell have you done?" I was forced to pay for all the bookings I'd already prepaid online, and my credit card expired. "Do you have any idea how humiliating this was? I had to borrow money from everyone. This is harassment. It's Tara's fault I'm in this mess. Now I have to figure out how to pay them all back." On the other end of the line was a calm, commanding voice. "Oh, did you borrow $5,000 from each of them? That's quite a lot of money. You must have had an extravagant trip. I hope Tara didn't cause you too much trouble." Glenn turned pale. The voice wasn't mine, it belonged to Tara's husband. He stammered but couldn't find any words to defend himself. Who is this?" Glenn managed to ask. "I'm so glad you remember me," the man replied. "Yes, this is Tara's husband. I know all about you and her. I'll be demanding alimony from her, and I'll make sure neither of you escapes the consequences of this." He hung up without waiting for a response. Glenn, now in a panic, tried calling Tara, but her phone was disconnected. It had already been cancelled. That call from Tara's husband was my doing. The day I left, I contacted him and told him everything. Though surprised, he admitted he had suspected Tara of cheating. Still, learning her partner was someone he knew was a shock. He apologized for her behavior and offered to cooperate with me. With his help, I found Tara's parents' address and shipped all of Glenn's belongings, along with copies of the divorce papers and photos of the affair, straight to them. Tara's parents were furious. The scandal spread quickly through their neighborhood, damaging their reputation. Her parents, wealthy business owners, were enraged not only at Tara but at the blow her actions dealt to their family name. She lost custody of her kids and was left to face the consequences of her betrayal. When Tara went to her parents in tears, they didn't even let her inside. She had no one to turn to, so she moved into a small apartment and started working long hours at a low-paying job, struggling to pay the alimony. Meanwhile, Sasha and I stayed with my parents until the divorce was finalized. Glenn went back to live with his parents. I'm still in touch with Glenn's parents. They care a lot about Sasha. His dad told me that Glenn spends all his time working on the farm now. He has to make alimony and child support payments, and his dad sounded disappointed in him. Thanks to my lawyer, I got a good deal on alimony and child support. Glenn's monthly payments are hefty, and I know he'll be working hard for years without saving anything for himself. I'm sure it feels like a nightmare for him. Once the divorce was finalized, Sasha and I moved into a new house. She transferred to a new school, where she was welcomed by her teachers and classmates. She's been happy there. Now that Glenn is a thing of the past, I'm handling all the housework myself. It's harder than I expected to balance work and home life, but I'd rather do this than live with a cheating husband and a so-called friend. I feel so much lighter now, free from all the negativity. I'm determined to be happier and work even harder from now on.
The text message from my father felt like a physical blow. "I won't be walking you down the aisle if Solstice isn't invited to the wedding. That's final. I'm Lacey, and this is how my father chose his new wife over his only daughter." My phone slipped from my trembling fingers onto my desk, screen still illuminated with those cruel words. Through the glass walls of my office, life continued as normal, people laughing, walking past with coffee cups, completely unaware that my world was crumbling. "Hey, you okay?" Rhea poked her head around my door, her smile fading as she saw my face. "Oh God, what happened?" "He's not coming," I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper, "unless I invite her." Rhea crossed the room in 3 quick steps, pulling me into a fierce hug. "Your dad's being a dick again?" I nodded against her shoulder, fighting back tears. I really thought he'd choose me this time. "Show me," she said, picking up my phone. Her eyes narrowed as she read the message. That manipulative witch. This has solstice written all over it. You think? I pulled away, wiping my eyes. Please. Your dad hasn't made a single decision without her approval since they got married. Remember the Christmas incident? I did. All too well. Solstice had convinced my father I was too busy to join their holiday plans, never mentioning she'd deliberately scheduled their celebration on the same day as my long-standing annual volunteer work at the shelter. When I couldn't attend, she spent weeks telling everyone how I'd abandoned the family during the holidays. My phone buzzed again. Zain this time. Dad just told me. Want to grab coffee? Zain wants to meet, I told Ria, probably to convince me to give in, again. Then let's give him something to think about. Ria's eyes sparkled dangerously. Want backup? 20 minutes later, we were at our usual coffee shop. Zain was already there, looking uncomfortable in his suit and tie. My brother, always the peacemaker, always trying to smooth things over. Before you start, I said, sliding into the booth, the answer is no, I'm not inviting her. Lace, come on, it's one day, just let her come and... And what? I cut him off. Let her make snide comments about my dress. Let her criticize my choices. Let her tell everyone how I'm such a disappointment, just like she did at your wedding. Zain winced. That was different. Was it? Ria chimed in. Because from where I was standing, she did everything she could to make Lacey look bad. And your dad just sat there and let it happen. He's trapped, Zain said quietly. You don't know everything that's going on. I leaned forward. Then tell me, what's she got on him? Because this isn't just about the wedding and you know it. Zain shifted uncomfortably, his coffee untouched. It's not my place to say. But Lace, maybe there's another way. Something that doesn't involve cutting Dad out completely. I'm not cutting him out, I said, my voice rising. He's choosing to not be there. There's a difference. My phone buzzed again. Dad, your mother would want us all together on your special day. The rage that filled me was sudden and complete. How dare he, I whispered, showing the message to Ria. How fucking dare he use Mum like that? That's it. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I'm done playing nice. If he wants to make this public, fine. Let's make it public. What are you going to do? Zain asked, looking worried. I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly why the father of the bride isn't walking his daughter down the aisle. Every single guest will know what kind of man he's become. Lacey, don't, Zain started. Don't what? Tell the truth. That's what Solstice is afraid of, isn't it? The truth getting out. Something flickered in Zain's eyes. Fear, recognition. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. I think, Ria said, standing beside me, it's about time someone stood up to both of them. I picked up my phone and typed out a response to my father. Mum would want you to choose your daughter over your wife's ego. But we'll never know, will we? Because she's not here to tell us. Don't worry, though. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly why you're not walking me down the aisle. I hit send before I could change my mind. My hands were steady now, my mind clear. You're really going to do this? Zain asked quietly. I looked at my brother, seeing the conflict in his eyes. Watch me. Zain showed up at my apartment that evening unannounced. Pizza box in one hand, six-pack in the other. The peace offering was obvious, but I let him in anyway. You're making a mistake, he said, setting everything down on my kitchen counter. Hello to you too. I grabbed a beer, popping it open with more force than necessary. Did Dad send you? No. Solstice did. I froze mid-sip. What? She cornered me after work. Zain ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit he'd had since we were kids. She's concerned about the family's reputation. Of course she is. I laughed bitterly. Heaven forbid people find out she's not the perfect stepmother she pretends to be. It's more than that, Lace. Zain wouldn't meet my eyes. She knows things. About Dad. About the company. What things? He shook his head. I shouldn't have said anything. No, you started this. What things, Zain? The silence stretched between us, broken only by the distant sound of traffic outside. Finally, Zain spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Remember when Mum died, and Dad's company almost went under? Yeah, He pulled off some miracle deal at the last minute. I frowned. What about it? It wasn't exactly legal. Zane looked sick. Solstice knows. She worked at the Regulatory Commission back then. The pieces started falling into place. She's blackmailing him. Not exactly, but she makes sure he knows she could destroy everything if she wanted to. I slammed my beer down. And you've known about this? All this time? What was I supposed to do? Zane exploded. Tell everyone? Watch Dad go to prison? Watch our family name get dragged through the mud? So instead you let her terrorize me? Let Dad treat me like I'm disposable? You're not disposable, he protested. Dad loves you. Really? Because it sure doesn't feel like it. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through messages. Look at this. Last month, when she told everyone I skipped Dad's birthday dinner, I was in the emergency room with food poisoning. She knew that, Dad knew that, but they still let everyone think I just didn't show up. Zane shifted uncomfortably. She said you were faking it. And Dad believed her, over his own daughter. He doesn't know what to believe anymore. Zane's voice cracked. She's in his head, Lace. All day, every day. Little comments, subtle hints about what could happen if she ever felt unwelcome. My phone buzzed. A text from Wyatt. Just heard from your dad. You okay? No, I typed back. But I will be. Whatever you're planning, Zane said, watching me. Be careful. Solstice isn't someone you want as an enemy. Too late? I looked up at my brother. She made me her enemy the day she decided to come between me and Dad. And now? Now I'm going to show everyone exactly who she is. How? You'll see. At the wedding. I smiled grimly. Assuming you're still coming? Zane hesitated. Lace. It's a simple question, Zane. Are you coming to your sister's wedding or not? He stood up, pacing my small kitchen. You don't understand what you're asking. If I side with you publicly, then what? Solstice will reveal Dad's secrets? Maybe it's time they came out anyway. You don't mean that. Maybe I do. I crossed my arms. Maybe it's time we stopped letting fear control this family. Zane stopped pacing, bracing himself against the counter. She'll destroy him. He's destroying himself by choosing her over his children. My voice softened. And you're helping him do it. The truth of that statement hung heavy in the air between us. Finally, Zane straightened up. I'll be there, he said quietly. But whatever you're planning, just remember that some things can't be undone. I know. I walked him to the door. That's exactly why I'm doing it. As I closed the door behind him, my phone buzzed again. A message from Mary, my wedding planner and my mum's old friend. Your mother would be so proud of you standing up for yourself. Whatever you need, I'm here. I smiled, feeling stronger. Mum would be proud. She never let anyone push her around, and she wouldn't want me to either. I opened my laptop and started typing. The red envelopes would need careful wording. After all, the truth was going to be my weapon, and I intended to make it count. Red envelopes? Wyatt looked up from the sample I'd handed him, his forehead creased with concern. You're sure about this? We were sitting in our favourite corner of the local bookstore cafe, the same place where we'd had our first date. Rhea sat across from us, already reading through the draft I'd written. Holy shit, she whispered, reaching the end. This is brutal, but honest. That's the point. I took a sip of my coffee. No exaggerations, no drama, just the plain truth about why my father won't be walking me down the aisle. Your dad's going to lose it when he sees these, Wyatt said, squeezing my hand. Good, I squeezed back. Maybe it's time he felt a fraction of what I've been feeling. Mary, who'd been quietly listening from the fourth chair, finally spoke up. I knew your mother for 20 years, she said, her voice gentle but firm. She would have done exactly the same thing. You think so? Oh, honey, Mary smiled. Where do you think you got your backbone from? Caroline never let anyone walk all over her, and she wouldn't want that for you either. Rhea grabbed her phone. I know a printer who can do these on that fancy red paper you want. Rush job, totally discreet. How many are we thinking? Wyatt asked. One for every guest. I pulled out my list. 212 to be exact. That's going to make quite a statement. Mary mused. How do you want to distribute them? I was thinking, I started, but was cut off by a familiar voice behind me. Thinking about what? My father stood there, looking uncomfortable in his casual weekend clothes. Solstice wasn't with him, a rare sight these days. Dad, I quickly slid the envelope draft into my bag. What are you doing here? I was hoping we could talk. He glanced at the others. Alone? Wyatt squeezed my hand again before standing. We'll give you some space. No, I said firmly. Whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of my family. Dad flinched at the word family, but pulled up a chair anyway. This wedding situation, it's gotten out of hand. Has it? I kept my voice steady. Seems pretty straightforward to me. You chose your wife's feelings over your daughter's. It's not that simple, Lacey. Actually, it is. I leaned forward. You know what Solstice has done. You know how she treats me. And you still took her side. She's my wife. And I'm your daughter. The words exploded out of me, causing nearby customers to turn and stare. I lowered my voice. I was your daughter first. I was there when Mom died. I was there when you fell apart. I was there through everything. And you think I wasn't there for you? His face reddened. I gave you everything. Except support when it mattered. I pulled out the red envelope draft and slid it across the table. Here, a preview of what every guest will receive at my wedding. He opened it with trembling hands. I watched his face as he read, saw the colour drain from it. You can't do this, he whispered. Watch me. Lacey, please. His voice cracked. You don't understand what's at stake. I understand perfectly. I gathered my things. Zahn told me about the company, about what Solstice knows. Dad's head snapped up, panic in his eyes. He what? Yeah. Turns out your perfect wife is just a blackmailer in designer clothes. I stood up. But you know what? Maybe it's time everyone knew the truth. About everything. You'd destroy our family name, your brother's career, my legacy. You're destroying it yourself. I slung my bag over my shoulder. One cowardly decision at a time. Mary reached over and patted my father's hand. Sullivan, I've known you for decades. This isn't you. Caroline would be heartbroken to see what you've become. Dad pulled his hand away as if burned. Don't bring Caroline into this. Too late, I said. Mom's been part of this since the day you let another woman erase her memory from our family. I turned to leave, then paused. You have 3 weeks until the wedding, Dad. Think carefully about which side of history you want to be on. As we walked out, Rhea pulled out her phone. Calling the printer now. These envelopes are going to be fire. You okay? Wyatt asked softly. I watched through the window as my father sat alone at the table, still holding the red envelope, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. No, I answered honestly, but I will be. One way or another, this ends at the wedding. Look at this, Rhea said, spinning her laptop around. Solstice worked at 3 different regulatory agencies in 5 years. Each time, she left right after major settlements with companies she was investigating. We were sprawled across my living room floor, surrounded by old papers, photos, and laptop screens. Mary had brought over boxes of my mom's old documents, and we'd been digging through them for hours. That's not suspicious at all, I muttered, reaching for another folder. Wait. Mary held up a yellowed envelope. This might be important. It's from your father's company, dated just before he met Solstice. Inside was a letter threatening legal action over financial irregularities. The same irregularities that mysteriously disappeared after Solstice entered the picture. She didn't just blackmail him, I realized. She orchestrated the whole thing. She was investigating Dad's company when Mom died. When he was most vulnerable, Mary finished, her face grim. Oh, Sullivan, you fool. My phone buzzed. Zine, Solstice is freaking out. Says Dad came home talking about red envelopes. What did you do? Showed him the truth. I typed back. Maybe you should too. The response was immediate. Coming over. 20 minutes later, Zane burst through my door looking frazzled. She's going through Dad's office. All of it. Every file, every document. Good. I handed him the letter Mary had found. Let her panic. He read it quickly, his face paling. Where did you get this? Mom kept everything, Mary said softly. She knew something wasn't right with the company's finances. She was trying to protect your father. And then she died, I added, and Solstice swooped in to save Dad from exposure. By blackmailing him? Zane collapsed onto my couch. This is insane. No, this is karma. Rhea turned her laptop around again. Look at her pattern. She finds vulnerable companies, threatens exposure, then mysteriously drops the investigations, usually right after getting something she wants. Like a wealthy husband, I suggested bitterly. My phone lit up with a text from Dad. We need to talk, please. No Solstice, no anyone. Just us. I showed the message to the others. It's a trap, Rhea said immediately. She'll be hiding around the corner or something. No, Zane shook his head. He means it. I've never seen him like this. He's scared. Good, I repeated. He should be. What are you going to do? Mary asked. I typed back. Tomorrow, 7 a.m., Mom's bench in the park. The bench where he proposed to Mom, I explained to the others. Solstice hates that place. She'll never follow him there. Be careful, Rhea warned. Cornered animals are the most dangerous. I'm done being careful. I started gathering the documents. I'm done tiptoeing around their feelings while they stomp all over mine. My phone buzzed again. Dad, I'll be there. Zane stood up, pacing. What if we're making it worse? What if she exposes everything? Then she exposes everything, I said firmly. Maybe it's time the truth came out anyway. All of it. The company is built on lies, I cut him off. Just like Dad's marriage to Solstice. Just like every family dinner where we pretend everything's fine while she undermines me. I'm tired of lies, Zane. Mary reached over and squeezed my hand. Caroline would be so proud of you right now. Would she? I blinked back tears. Because sometimes I feel like I'm tearing the family apart. No, honey. Mary's voice was fierce. Solstice did that. Your father let her. You're just refusing to pretend it didn't happen. My phone lit up one more time. A message from Wyatt. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm with you. All the way. I showed the message to Rhea, who grinned. Now that's a real man. Not like... She caught herself glancing at Zane. Sorry. Don't be. Zane picked up the letter again. You're right. We've all been cowards. Especially me. It's not too late to change that, I said quietly. He nodded slowly. No, it's not. He pulled out his phone and started typing. What are you doing? Emailing myself copies of everything we found tonight. He looked up, determination in his eyes. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. No more hiding. I hugged him, feeling for the first time like I had my brother back. Tomorrow then, Mary said, standing up, the beginning of the end. Or just the beginning, I replied, looking at the pile of evidence we'd gathered. Depends on Dad's choice. The morning fog still clung to the park when I arrived at Mom's bench. Dad was already there, looking older than I'd ever seen him, his shoulders hunched against the early morning chill. You came, he said as I sat beside him. You raised me to keep my promises. The words came out sharper than intended. At least that's what you used to teach me. He flinched. I deserve that. You deserve worse. Silence stretched between us, broken only by early morning joggers passing by and birds starting their day. I found Mom's letter, I finally said. The one about the company's finances. Dad's breath caught. Lacey, did you know she was trying to protect you? That she was looking for a legal way out before she died? Yes. His voice was barely a whisper. And then Solstice appeared, right when you were most vulnerable. Convenient, wasn't it? He turned to face me, eyes red-rimmed. You don't understand. The company was going under. Everything your grandfather built, everything I'd worked for, I was going to lose it all. So instead you lost your daughter. I never lost you. Really? I pulled out my phone, opened my photos. Here's last Christmas when Solstice told everyone I was too busy for family dinner. I was volunteering at the shelter, just like Mom and I used to do every year. You knew that. I swiped to the next photo. Here's Zane's wedding. Remember how Solstice spent the entire reception telling everyone how I was trying to upstage the bride with my dress? The dress she helped pick out? Lacey, please. No, Dad, look. I showed him photo after photo. Every family event, every holiday, every celebration, watch how I slowly disappear from them. Watch how she pushed me out, and you let her. I was trying to keep the peace. You were trying to keep your secrets. I put my phone away. But here's the thing, Dad. I'm not afraid of the truth anymore. Are you? He stood up abruptly, pacing in front of the bench. If this comes out, it won't just hurt me. The company employs hundreds of people. Your brother's career. Stop hiding behind other people. I stood too, facing him. This isn't about them. This is about you choosing your wife's blackmail over your daughter's happiness. That's not fair. Neither is making me feel unwelcome in my own family. My voice echoed across the empty park. Neither is missing my graduation because Solstice suddenly planned a cruise. Neither is believing her lies about me over and over and over again. I'm sorry, he whispered. Sorry isn't enough anymore. I pulled out one of the red envelopes. These go out at my wedding. Every guest will know exactly why you're not walking me down the aisle. Unless? Stand up to her, tell the truth yourself, be my dad again. He took the envelope with trembling hands. She'll destroy everything. No, Dad, you already did that the moment you chose her over your children. My phone buzzed. Wyatt, dress fitting in an hour. You okay? I have to go, I told Dad. My fiancé and I are planning our future, a future based on trust and honesty. Everything my childhood family used to be. Lacey, wait, he grabbed my arm. What if I left her? I gently removed his hand. That's not enough anymore. The truth needs to come out. All of it. You need to make it right. How? Figure it out. You have 2 weeks until the wedding. I started walking away, then turned back. Oh, and Dad, check your email. Zayn sent you something interesting last night. What did he send? Everything we found, all the evidence of Solstice's pattern, all the proof of her blackmail. I smiled sadly. Turns out I'm not the only one tired of living with lies. As I walked away, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Mary. Your mother's watching over you today. She'd be so proud of your strength. I looked back one last time. Dad still stood by the bench, the red envelope clutched in his hand, looking lost in the morning fog. For the first time, I didn't feel sorry for him. Another text came through, this one from Ria. The red envelopes are ready. They look amazing. Perfect, I replied. Now we wait. 2 weeks until the wedding. 2 weeks for Dad to choose between truth and lies, between his daughter and his wife, between his integrity and his secrets. The morning sun finally broke through the fog as I headed to my dress fitting. Whatever Dad decided, I was done living in shadows. It was time for everything to come to light. The morning of my wedding dawned bright and clear. I stood in the church's bridal suite, staring at my reflection while Mary adjusted my veil. The red envelopes? I asked. All in place, Ria confirmed, checking her phone. One on each seat, just like we planned. The door burst open. Solstice stood there, already dressed for the wedding, her face twisted with rage. You little bitch, she hissed, waving one of the red envelopes. How dare you? Get out! Mary stepped between us, but Solstice shoved past her. You think you can expose your father like this, destroy everything he's built? I turned to face her, surprisingly calm. No, that's your job, isn't it? The blackmail, the manipulation, the threats. I saved his company. You saw an opportunity and exploited it. I smoothed my dress. Just like you did with all those other companies you investigated. Her face paled. What are you talking about? We found everything, Solstice. Your pattern, your previous victims. Did you really think my mother wouldn't keep records? Your mother, she spat, was a fool who didn't understand business. The room went deadly quiet. Even Solstice seemed to realize she'd gone too far. Get out, I said softly, dangerously. Before I have security throw you out. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I nodded to Rhea, who already had her phone out. "One call and everyone will watch you get dragged out of my wedding. Imagine the gossip." "Your father won't allow—" "My father isn't here yet." I stepped closer. "And you're not going to tell him about this little visit, are you? Because then you'd have to explain how you found out about the envelopes early." She glanced down at the envelope in her hand, realization dawning. "That's right," I continued. "You broke into the church last night to snoop. The security cameras caught everything. Wouldn't that make an interesting addition to the evidence? You're bluffing. Want to risk it?" We stared each other down until finally she crumpled the envelope in her fist and turned to leave. "This isn't over," she threatened. "Actually, it is." Zane's voice came from the doorway. He stood there in his groomsman's suit, looking every inch our father's son. "Step away from my sister." "Zane," she tried to smile. "Surely you understand." "I understand perfectly." He held up his phone. "I just sent Dad the security footage of you breaking in. He's on his way." Her face went from pale to ashen. Without another word, she pushed past him and fled. "You okay?" Zane asked, hugging me carefully to avoid wrinkling my dress. "Better than okay." I grinned. "Did you really send Dad the footage?" "Yup, along with everything else we have on her. Ball's in his court now." My phone buzzed. "Wyatt, just saw Solstice storming out. You all right?" "Never better," I texted back. "Get ready for fireworks." Mary finished adjusting my veil. "Whatever happens next, you look beautiful." "Thanks to you." I hugged her. "Mum would have loved this dress." "She would have loved seeing you stand up for yourself more." Mary wiped away a tear. "Now, are we ready to do this?" Rhea checked her phone again. "Guests are being seated. Each red envelope is in place. No sign of your dad yet." "He'll come," Zane said confidently. "He has to choose now. No more hiding." Another text came through, this time from Dad. "I'm here. Can we talk before the ceremony?" I showed the message to everyone. "Want backup?" Rhea offered. "No." I took a deep breath. "This needs to be between us." 5 minutes until we need to start," Mary warned. "That's all I need." I headed for the door, then turned back. "If you see Solstice trying to come back, we'll handle it," Zane promised. In the quiet hallway outside the main sanctuary, I could hear the murmur of guests, the soft music playing. This was it. The moment everything would change. Dad stood waiting, looking torn between pride and terror. In his hand was a red envelope unopened. "Well?" I asked quietly. "What's it going to be, Dad?" He looked down at the envelope, then back at me. "I made my choice," he said. And in that moment, I knew exactly what was about to happen. Dad held up the red envelope. "I don't need to read this," he said. "I already know what it says. The truth. And I just filed for divorce." His voice cracked. 20 minutes ago at the courthouse down the street." I stared at him, hardly daring to believe it. "What about the company, your reputation?" "Some things are more important." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a stack of papers. "I also submitted these to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Full disclosure of everything I did wrong, everything Solstice used against me." "Dad, I'm probably going to face charges," he continued. "The company will take a hit, but it's time to stop running from my mistakes." The wedding march began, playing softly in the background. "It's time," Mary called from down the hall. Dad held out his arm. "If you'll still have me, I'd like to walk my daughter down the aisle." I took his arm, tears threatening to ruin my makeup. "What made you decide?" "Your mother," he said simply. "Last night, I went to her grave for the first time since Solstice. I realized Caroline would never forgive me for what I've become." We reached the sanctuary doors. Inside, I could see the red envelopes on every seat, waiting to be opened. "Wait," I whispered to Mary. She nodded and signaled the musician to hold. "Rhea," I called softly. "Get Zane." They hurried over, confusion on their faces. "The envelopes," I said. "Help me collect them, all of them." "What?" "Why?" Rhea asked. I looked at my father, saw the tears in his eyes, the determination in his stance. "Because sometimes the truth doesn't need to be forced. Sometimes people choose it on their own." We quickly gathered the envelopes while the guests watched curiously. As we finished, the sanctuary doors opened fully, and there stood Solstice. "Sullivan," she called out, "think about what you're doing." Dad didn't even turn around. "I already have. Goodbye, Solstice." "I'll destroy you," she threatened. "No," he replied calmly. "I'm done letting you destroy anything." A security guard appeared behind her. "Mom, I need you to come with me." "You can't?" she started. "Actually, we can." Zane stepped forward. "Breaking and entering last night? That's a crime. So is blackmail. The police are very interested in talking to you about your pattern of investigating companies." She looked around wildly but found no allies. Even her usual society friends in the pews were turning away, embarrassed to be associated with her. As she was led away, Dad squeezed my arm. "Ready?" The wedding march began again. This time, when we walked down the aisle, I saw nothing but love in the faces around us. Wyatt waited at the altar, beaming. Rhea and Zane took their places as my attendants, both trying not to cry. "Who gives this woman?" the minister asked. Dad's voice was strong and clear. "Her mother and I do." He kissed my cheek and whispered, "I'm so sorry, sweetheart, for everything." "I know," I whispered back. "We'll figure it out." As I took Wyatt's hands, I saw Mary in the front row holding a box of the collected red envelopes. She gave me a questioning look. I shook my head slightly. Those envelopes didn't matter anymore. The truth had found its way out on its own. "Dearly beloved," the minister began, but I was barely listening. I was watching my father, sitting where my mother should have been, finally looking like the man I remembered from my childhood. Wyatt squeezed my hands, bringing me back to the moment. "You okay?" he mouthed. I smiled, really smiled, for the first time in what felt like years. "Perfect," I whispered back. Because it was. Not because everything was fixed. Dad still faced consequences. The company would still take hits. There would still be fallout to deal with. But perfect because the truth was finally free. Because my father had finally chosen right. Because love had won over fear. The red envelopes would be burned later that night, their contents never read, their purpose served simply by existing. Sometimes the threat of truth is enough to make people face it on their own. "I do," I said when the time came, looking into Wyatt's eyes and seeing our future. One built on honesty, trust, and real love. In the front row, Dad wiped away tears, finally free from the chains of his secrets. The bonfire crackled in Mary's backyard as I tossed the last red envelope into the flames. Dad stood beside me watching the paper curl and blacken. "Never did read what was in them," he said quietly. "You didn't need to." I leaned against his shoulder. "You chose truth on your own." The wedding reception was still going strong inside, but we'd slipped away for this private moment. Wyatt understood. He always did. "The SEC wants me to testify," Dad said, watching the flames, "about Solstice's pattern with other companies. I heard. Zane told me they found 5 other CEOs she'd blackmailed. 6, actually." He smiled grimly. "They found another one this morning. She's going away for a long time." The back door opened and Zane emerged with 3 glasses of champagne. "Mom's favourite," he said, handing them around. "Remember how she used to say we should always face hard times with bubbles? Because the bubbles remind us that everything rises eventually," I quoted, raising my glass. "To Mom." "To Mom," they echoed. "I visited her grave yesterday," Zane said. "Left her favourite sunflowers." "I know," I smiled. "I saw them when I went this morning." Dad cleared his throat. "The company board meets tomorrow. They'll probably ask for my resignation." "Probably," Zane agreed. "But the truth is worth it, right? Worth everything." Dad pulled out his phone, showed us the screen. "Look what Mary found in your mother's old papers." It was a letter dated just before Mom died. In it, she'd written about her suspicions regarding the company's finances, but more importantly about her faith that Dad would do the right thing when the time came. "She believed in you," I said softly. "Even then." I let her down for a while. Dad's voice was rough. Let you both down, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life making up for it. The back door opened again. This time it was Rhea, grinning mischievously. You guys need to come see this. Someone sent Solstice's greatest hits to the local news. They're running a special report on corporate blackmail. We hurried inside just in time to see Solstice's mugshot flash across Mary's TV screen. The reporter was detailing her history of targeting vulnerable companies and executives. Who leaked it? I asked, though I had a pretty good idea. Rhea's grin widened. Let's just say Mary had copies of everything your mum saved, and she knows people at every news station in town. That's my girl, Dad laughed, surprising us all. Caroline would be proud. The door chimed and Wyatt went to answer it. He came back with a courier envelope. Special delivery for the bride. Inside was a letter from the district attorney's office. I read it aloud. In light of Mr. Kennedy's voluntary disclosure and cooperation, we are recommending minimal penalties. They're going easy on you, Zane asked Dad. Not easy, just fair. Dad took the letter, read it himself. Community service, financial penalties, some restrictions on future business dealings, but no jail time. Because you chose to come forward, Mary said from the doorway. Because you chose your family over fear. The news report continued, showing Solstice being led away in handcuffs. The reporter mentioned that more victims were coming forward every hour. Turn it off, I said. This is supposed to be a wedding reception. Wyatt obliged, then pulled me onto the dance floor where other couples were swaying to the music. Over his shoulder, I watched Dad ask Mary to dance, saw Zane and Rhea joining them. Happy? Wyatt asked. More than. I kissed him softly. Thank you for standing by me through all of this. Always will. He spun me gently. Though I have to admit, when you first told me about the red envelope plan, I thought you were crazy. Sometimes crazy works. I glanced at Dad, saw him laughing at something Mary said. Sometimes it's exactly what people need to find their way back to themselves. The music shifted to Mum's favourite song. Dad caught my eye across the room, smiled through his tears. May I cut in? He asked Wyatt. I believe I owe my daughter a proper father-daughter dance. As we danced, I realised something. The red envelopes had never really been about revenge. They'd been about hope. Hope that given the choice between truth and lies, between love and fear, people would choose right. I love you, Dad, I said. I love you too, sweetheart. He held me closer. Thank you for not giving up on me. Outside, the bonfire consumed the last of the red envelopes. Their purpose served not by what they contained, but by what they represented. The power of truth to set us free.
The day my mother gave me the ultimatum still burns in my memory like a fresh wound. I can picture every detail. The way her fingers gripped her wine glass, how my father's shoulders tensed, and the look of smug satisfaction on my sister Yasmin's face. My name is Alina, and 7 years ago, I chose love over family. Not that they saw it that way. It's him or us, my mother declared, her voice cutting through the tension in our family dining room. You can't possibly expect us to accept a man like that into our family. I stared at the text message from Landon lighting up my phone. Everything okay? I'm here if you need me. My fingers trembled as I set the phone face down on the table. Mom, you don't even know him, I protested, fighting to keep my voice steady. The charges were dropped. He was innocent. Innocent men don't get arrested in the first place. Yasmin chimed in, ever ready to twist the knife. God, Alina, how naive can you be? My brother Matthew sat silently, studying his plate as if it held the secrets of the universe. Typical. He never could handle confrontation. Your sister's right. Dad finally spoke, his words heavy with disappointment. We've worked too hard building our reputation in this community. What will people say when they find out our daughter is dating an ex-con? He was cleared of all charges. I slammed my hand on the table, making the silverware jump. He built his company from nothing, and now... Enough! Mom's voice cracked like a whip. She set down her wine glass with deliberate precision. Alina, we're not asking you to choose. We're telling you how it's going to be. End things with Landon or don't bother coming back here. The silence that followed felt like a physical weight on my chest. I looked around the table at the faces I'd known all my life. Mom's stern disapproval, Dad's weary resignation, Yasmin's barely concealed satisfaction, and Matthew's studied indifference. You want me to choose? I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Fine. I choose him. Alina, Dad warned, think very carefully about what you're doing. I have thought about it. I've thought about how none of you bothered to meet him, to hear his side of the story, to see the amazing person he is. My voice grew stronger with each word. You're so worried about your precious reputation that you can't see past your own prejudices. Don't you dare lecture us about prejudice, Mom snapped. That man, I cut her off, is the person I love. And if you can't accept that, then maybe I don't need this family. Yasmin laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. You'll come crawling back when he shows his true colors. Men like that don't change. I grabbed my phone and purse, my movements sharp and decisive. You know what's funny, Yasmin? At least Landon owned up to his mistakes and worked to become better. When was the last time any of you admitted to being wrong about anything? If you walk out that door, Mom said, her voice ice cold, don't expect to be welcomed back. I paused at the doorway, my hand on the frame. You know what, Mom? Right now, I can't imagine wanting to come back. The drive to Landon's apartment was a blur of tears and anger. When I pulled into his parking spot, he was already waiting outside, concern etched across his face. One look at me, and he knew. They made you choose, he asked softly as I fell into his arms. I nodded against his chest, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne. I chose you. He pulled back slightly, his eyes searching mine. Alina, I can't let you give up your family for me. Maybe if I talk to them. No, I said firmly, wiping my eyes. They made their choice. I made mine. We'll build our own life, create our own family. Are you sure? His voice was gentle, but I could hear the worry underneath. I looked up at him, really looked at him. The man who had turned his life around, who had built something meaningful from nothing, who loved me without conditions or ultimatums. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That night, as we lay in bed, my phone buzzed with messages from my family. I turned it off without reading them. The choice was made. The die cast. I didn't know then that this decision would set in motion events that would change all our lives forever. But that's the thing about choices. You never really know their full impact until years later, when you look back and realize that some bridges, once burned, leave ashes that never quite cool. 7 years can change everything. I stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of our penthouse office, watching the city buzz 40 stories below. My reflection showed a woman my family wouldn't recognize. Polished, confident, successful. The scared girl who drove away from their house that night was gone. Mrs. CEO, Landon's voice came from behind me. The board is waiting. I turned to face my husband, straightening my blazer. Still feels surreal. You earned this, he said, squeezing my shoulder. Every single bit of it. The journey flashed through my mind. Our first tiny office, the late nights, the endless cups of coffee. We'd built this empire together, brick by digital brick. Remember our first client meeting? I asked as we walked toward the boardroom. That startup that thought we were too small to handle their security needs? Landon laughed. Now they're one of our biggest clients. You convinced them to take a chance on us. We convinced them, I corrected. You with your brilliant software, me with my pitch. The boardroom doors opened to reveal 20 faces turned expectantly toward us. My best friend Hazel, our chief marketing officer, gave me a subtle thumbs up. Ladies and gentlemen, Landon addressed the room. As founder of SecureFlow, I've made many decisions over the years. But naming our new CEO? He turned to me with pride in his eyes. That was the easiest choice I've ever made. The applause felt like validation, not just of my abilities, but of every choice that led me here. After the meeting, Hazel cornered me in my new office. Okay, Spill, how does it feel to be the youngest female CEO of a Fortune 500 company? I sank into my chair, finally letting my professional mask slip. Honestly, it feels like vindication. Have you heard from them? Hazel knew about my family. She'd been there through everything. Not since last year's Christmas card was returned unopened. I pulled up our company's latest press release on my computer. But this announcement might change that. You think they'll reach out now that you're successful? I know they will. I clicked through our stock prices, all trending upward. Money and status are the only things they truly respect. And when they do. Hazel perched on my desk, her expression concerned. What then? Before I could answer, my assistant Sarah buzzed in. Ms. Alina, your husband's here with champagne. Landon entered carrying a bottle and 3 glasses. Hope I'm not interrupting? Just girl talk, Hazel winked. Well, this calls for celebration. He poured the champagne with practiced ease. To my brilliant wife, who took a small cybersecurity startup and helped transform it into a billion-dollar company. To us, I corrected, raising my glass, to proving everyone wrong. Later that night, as Landon and I walked home through the city streets, he brought up what we'd both been thinking. Your family will see the announcement. Let them see it. I stepped over a puddle, my heels clicking on the pavement. Let them see exactly what they threw away. You never told me what you'd do if they tried to reconcile. I stopped walking, turning to face him under the glow of a street lamp. Remember what you said when we started the company? Success is the best revenge? He nodded, realization dawning in his eyes. You've been planning for this. 7 years is a long time to think about justice. I resumed walking, my stride purposeful. If they reach out, when they reach out, I'll be ready. Alina? His tone carried a warning. Don't worry, I assured him, taking his hand. Everything I do will be completely legal, just like you taught me. At home, I stood on our balcony, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed with congratulatory messages from colleagues and friends. Soon I knew there would be other messages, different messages. Landon joined me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Whatever you're planning, just remember, we built all this together. Don't let them take away your peace. I leaned back against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart. They took away my family. My peace was collateral damage. We made our own family, he reminded me. Look at everything we've achieved. He was right, of course. We had everything: success, respect, love. But some wounds don't heal clean. Sometimes they leave scars that itch for resolution. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from our PR team with tomorrow's newspaper headlines. Secure Flow names new CEO, the rise of Alina Simmons. I smiled, knowing that somewhere in the city, my family would be reading those same headlines over their morning coffee. The thought filled me with a satisfaction I hadn't felt in years. The game was about to begin, and I had all the pieces in place. The call came exactly 3 days after the announcement. I was in my office reviewing quarterly reports when Sarah's voice crackled through the intercom. Ms. Alina, there's a Yasmin Fuller on line 1. She says she's your sister. My hand hovered over the phone. 3 days. Longer than I'd expected, but right on schedule. Put her through, I said, straightening in my chair. Alina? Yasmin's voice hadn't changed, still that same sugary sweetness that masked a serpent's tongue. It's been so long. 7 years, 2 months, and 16 days. I kept my voice neutral. But who's counting? A nervous laugh. I saw the news. CEO of Secure Flow. We're all so proud. We? I interrupted. And who exactly is we, Yasmin? The family, of course. Mom and Dad, Matthew. We've all been following your success. I pulled up my email, clicking through to a folder labeled Family. Inside were screenshots of their social media posts over the years, their carefully curated lives, never once mentioning me. How interesting, I said. I must have missed all your congratulatory messages along the way. About that. She paused, and I could picture her rehearsing her next words. We may have been hasty in our judgment. About everything. About Landon. Hasty? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut. That's what you're calling it? People change, Alina. We've changed, and clearly we were wrong about Landon. Look at everything you've built together. I pressed my fingertips against my desk, grounding myself. Why are you calling, Yasmin? Really? Another pause. I miss my sister. We all miss you. Matthew's getting married next month, and Mom and Dad's 40th anniversary is coming up. It feels wrong not having you there. And the fact that I'm now CEO of a Fortune 500 company has nothing to do with this sudden attack of conscience? That's not fair, she protested. We're family. We were family, I corrected. 7 years ago, when I needed you most. Can't we move past that? Meet for coffee, maybe? Just you and me? The door opened and Hazel walked in, stopping short when she saw me on the phone. I waved her in. You know what? I said to Yasmin. Coffee sounds perfect. Tomorrow 10 a.m. at Riverside Cafe. Really? The surprise in her voice was almost comical. That's wonderful. I'll be there. After hanging up, I turned to Hazel. Right on schedule. That was her? Hazel dropped into the chair across from me. What did she want? Exactly what we predicted. Family reunions, wedding invitations, and a healthy dose of guilt tripping. And you agreed to meet her? I smiled, pulling up a different folder on my computer. Of course, it's all part of the plan. Alina. Hazel leaned forward. Are you sure about this? Revenge might feel good in the moment, but this isn't just revenge, I cut her off. This is justice. They need to understand what they did. My phone buzzed. A text from Landon. Yasmin called you? News travels fast, I muttered, typing back, yes, meeting her tomorrow. His response was immediate. Want me there? No, I replied. I need to do this alone. Hazel was watching me carefully. What exactly are you planning? I turned my monitor toward her, showing the event details for SecureFlow's upcoming 10th anniversary gala. The biggest tech celebration of the year. Every major player in the industry will be there. Press, celebrities, influencers. And your family? They'll receive very special invitations. After all, I smiled, we're reconciling. This seems elaborate even for you. 7 years gives you time to plan. I stood up, walking to the window. They didn't just reject me, Hazel. They tried to break me. They wanted me to fail, to come crawling back, proving them right. But you didn't. No, I didn't. And now they want to pretend none of it happened, to slip back into my life now that it's convenient. I turned back to her. They don't get to do that. My phone buzzed again. Yasmin confirming tomorrow's meeting. Perfect. Just be careful, Hazel warned. Don't let this consume you. I nodded, but my mind was already racing ahead, plotting each move like a chess game. Tomorrow would be the opening gambit, appearing receptive, vulnerable, ready to reconcile. Yasmin would report back to the others, and then, trust me, I told Hazel. Everything is going exactly as planned. As she left, I pulled up the gala invitation template on my screen. It would be perfect, elegant, exclusive, promising everything my status-obsessed family couldn't resist. They thought they were orchestrating a reunion. In reality, they were walking right into my carefully laid trap, and I couldn't wait to spring it. Riverside Cafe buzzed with morning energy as I watched Yasmin approach my table. She looked exactly the same. Designer handbag, perfect makeup, practiced smile. I stood to greet her, accepting her tentative hug with calculated warmth. You look amazing, she gushed, sliding into her seat. Success suits you. Coffee first, I smiled, signaling the waiter. Then we can talk. Once our orders arrived, Yasmin launched into her carefully rehearsed speech. We've all changed so much, Alina. Matthew's found someone wonderful. Mom's mellowed out, and Dad, he keeps your newspaper coverage in his study. How touching. I stirred my latte slowly. And you? Still working at the boutique? Her smile faltered slightly. Actually, I've been thinking about a career change. The fashion industry is so volatile these days. I took a sip, watching her over the rim of my cup. What did you have in mind? Well? She leaned forward conspiratorially. I heard SecureFlow is expanding its marketing department. There it was. I bit back a smile. Is that what this is about, Yasmin? A job? No! She reached across the table, grabbing my hand. This is about family, about making things right. The job, that would just be a bonus, a chance to work together like sisters should. I pulled my hand away, reaching into my bag. Speaking of family, I withdrew 4 elegant black envelopes. These are for you, Matthew, Mom, and Dad. Her eyes widened as she took them. What are they? Invitations to SecureFlow's 10th anniversary gala. Next month at the Grand Plaza Hotel. Very exclusive. Celebrities, tech giants, press coverage. The perfect place for a family reunion, don't you think? Alina, I don't know what to say. Say you'll come, all of you. I leaned forward. Let's show everyone that the past is behind us. Back at the office, Hazel was waiting in my private conference room. How did it go? Like taking candy from a baby. I kicked off my heels, sinking into a chair. She practically salivated over the invitations. And she bought it? The reconciliation? People believe what they want to believe. I pulled up the gala's security protocols on my tablet. She thinks she's manipulating me. That's what makes it perfect. Hazel studied the plans. Private security at every entrance, guest list verification, media coverage. This is thorough. It has to be. I showed her the special instructions for my family's arrival. When they're turned away at the door in front of everyone, you're going to humiliate them publicly. They'll feel exactly what I felt that night. Rejected, exposed, humiliated. I scrolled through the media list. And this time, there will be cameras. Have you told Landon? I shook my head. He knows something's coming, but not the details. Plausible deniability. My phone buzzed. A text from Yasmin. Everyone's so excited about the gala. Mom's already shopping for a dress. Perfect, I murmured, showing Hazel the message. Alina? Hazel set down the tablet. I get why you're doing this, but revenge has a way of backfiring. This isn't just revenge. I stood, walking to the window. This is about consequences. They thought they could waltz back into my life when it suited them, use me for connections and jobs. They need to understand that actions have repercussions. And after? What then? Then I move forward. No more looking back, no more wondering what if. Clean slate. The door opened and Landon entered, looking between us. Everything okay? Just finalizing gala details, I said smoothly. How was your meeting? Good. He studied my face. Yasmin called. Said you were very receptive. I can be very convincing when I need to be. He exchanged a look with Hazel. Whatever you're planning, trust me, I cut him off. Please. Later that night, I reviewed the security footage from the cafe meeting. Watched Yasmin's calculated performance, her practiced sincerity. My phone kept buzzing with messages from Matthew and my parents, all suddenly eager to reconnect. I opened my laptop, pulling up the email I'd prepared. Subject line, Media Advisory, Secure Flow Gala Promises Surprise Announcements. My finger hovered over the send button. Once this went out, there would be no turning back. The press would be primed, cameras ready. I thought about 7 years of silence, of holidays spent alone, of wedding invitations that never came. I pressed send. The pieces were in motion now. In 1 month, my family would arrive at the Grand Plaza Hotel, dressed in their finest, ready to capitalize on my success. Instead, they'd find locked doors and rolling cameras. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a spotlight. The Grand Plaza Hotel gleamed like a jewel in the evening light. From my private security room, I watched the monitors as guests began arriving. Each screen showed a different angle. The main entrance, side doors, VIP access points. No detail left to chance. They're here, Hazel announced, pointing to a monitor showing my family stepping out of a black SUV. My mother emerged first, resplendent in a designer gown. Dad followed, adjusting his bow tie. Matthew and his fiancée, then Yasmin bringing up the rear. Right on time, I murmured, checking my watch. Begin Operation Lockout. The head of security, Marcus, spoke into his radio. All units in position. Commence Protocol 7. I watched as they approached the main entrance, my mother leading the charge like a general into battle. The security guard checked his tablet. Names, please? Lynch party of 5, my mother announced with practiced authority. We're personal guests of Alina Simmons. The guard frowned at his tablet. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing those names on the list. There must be some mistake. My mother's voice carried clearly through the speakers. We're her family. Ma'am, if you're not on the list, I can't let you in. Yasmin pushed forward. Call Alina. She'll sort this out. I'm afraid Ms. Simmons has given strict instructions not to be disturbed. The guard's voice remained professionally neutral. You'll need to step aside for other guests. The cameras caught every detail. My mother's reddening face, my father's clenched jaw, Yasmin's growing panic. Matthew and his fiancée shifted uncomfortably as other guests began to stare. This is ridiculous, my mother hissed. We have invitations. She thrust the black envelope at the guard, who examined it briefly. I'm sorry, ma'am, but these invitations appear to be invalid. A reporter nearby perked up, sensing drama. Excuse me, did you say you're Alina Simmons's family? Yes, Yasmin jumped in, desperate for an ally. There's clearly been a mix-up. Interesting, the reporter cut in, because Ms. Simmons has publicly stated she has no family. The cameras caught my mother's face crumpling, then hardening. We are very much her family, and when I speak to her, ma'am, Marcus stepped forward, right on cue. If you continue to create a disturbance, we'll have to escort you off the property. More reporters were gathering now, phones recording. My family's humiliation was being captured in real time, just as planned. Alina! My father's voice boomed across the entrance. Alina, we know you can hear us. Should we intervene? Hazel asked softly. I shook my head, eyes fixed on the monitors. Not yet. Security began to move in, forming a barrier between my family and the entrance. Guests streamed past them, whispering and pointing. You can't do this to us. Yasmin was nearly crying now. We're family. Family? I whispered to the screen. Where was family when I needed you? The media was in a feeding frenzy, capturing every moment of their undignified exit. Matthew practically dragged his fiancée away, while my parents stood their ground until Marcus personally escorted them to their car. Ms. Simmons? Sarah's voice came through my earpiece. You're needed for the opening speech in 5 minutes. I stood, smoothing my dress. How do I look, Hazel? Like someone who just won a war. She paused. Are you sure about this? They needed to understand. I checked my reflection one last time. 7 years ago, they threw me away like I was nothing. Tonight, they learned what that feels like. The ballroom was packed when I took the stage. Cameras flashed as I approached the microphone, my smile perfectly practiced. Welcome to SecureFlow's 10th anniversary celebration, I began, scanning the crowd. Tonight is about family, not the family you're born into, but the family you choose. My eyes found Landon in the crowd, standing with our executive team. He gave me a slight nod, understanding dawning in his eyes. Success isn't just about making money or gaining power, I continued. It's about surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, who stand by you when times are tough. From the security room, Hazel sent me a text. They're still outside, demanding to speak to you. Perfect. Tonight we celebrate not just our company's success, but the loyalty and trust that made it possible. In business, as in life, you learn who truly stands with you. The applause was thunderous, but I barely heard it. In my mind, I was watching the monitors, seeing my family's faces as they realized the truth. This wasn't a reconciliation, it was reckoning, and it wasn't over yet. The night was young, and I had one more surprise waiting in the wings. The gala was in full swing when Marcus's voice crackled through my earpiece. Ms. Simmons, they're back, all of them, and your mother is insistent. I excused myself from a group of investors and made my way to the security room. On the monitors, my family had regrouped, this time with reinforcements. My mother's brother, a local judge, was with them. Let me handle this, I told Marcus, heading for the main entrance. Hazel caught up with me in the hallway. Are you sure you want to face them? Oh, yes. I straightened my spine. This is the finale. The night air was cool as I stepped outside. Security parted to reveal my family, their perfect appearances now distinctly ruffled. Uncle Robert, I greeted the judge coolly. This is a surprise. Alina, he started, all judicial authority. This behavior is beneath you. Your mother— My mother? I cut him off. You mean the woman who disowned me? Who told me I was dead to her? That was 7 years ago. My mother interjected. People change. No, Mom, people don't change. They just reveal who they truly are. I gestured to the gathering crowd of reporters. Like tonight, when you thought you could use me for social climbing. That's not fair. Yasmin stepped forward. We were trying to make amends. Really? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through messages. Let's see. I heard SecureFlow is expanding its marketing department. Matthew's fiancée would love to intern at your company. Your father's investment firm would be interested in a partnership. I looked up. Those kinds of amends? The reporters' cameras were flashing continuously now. My family's expressions ranged from shock to fury as they realized this was being documented. You set us up, Matthew said slowly. The invitations, the reconciliation, it was all a trap. I learned from the best. I smiled coldly. Family first, right? Isn't that what you always said, Mom? Enough! My father's voice boomed. You've made your point. You've humiliated us. Are you happy now? Happy? I laughed, the sound sharp as broken glass. I was happy 7 years ago, before you forced me to choose between my family and the man I loved. I was happy building a life with someone you deemed unworthy, while you spread rumors about me in your social circles. Uncle Robert tried again. Alina, surely we can discuss this privately. No. I stepped closer, my voice carrying clearly to the reporters. 7 years ago, you made me face your judgment publicly. Tonight, you face mine. You ungrateful, my mother started, but security moved forward. I think it's time for you to leave, Marcus said firmly. This isn't over, Yasmin hissed as they were led away. Actually, it is. I held up my phone. Everything that happened here tonight, it's already trending on social media. The family karma is quite popular. Their faces paled as realization hit. The society pages they loved so much would be telling a very different story tomorrow. Back inside, Landon was waiting. I saw the commotion. Are you okay? Never better. I straightened his tie. Ready to announce the Tokyo expansion? He caught my hand. Alina, what you did out there was necessary. I met his eyes. They needed to understand that actions have consequences, that they can't just waltz back into my life when it's convenient. And now? Now we focus on what matters. I nodded toward the ballroom. Our real family, the people who stood by us. As we returned to the gala, my phone buzzed with a message from Matthew. You've destroyed Mom's reputation in her social circles. I hope you're satisfied. I typed back, like you destroyed mine 7 years ago? Karma's funny that way. Hazel appeared at my side. The video's gone viral. Your family's trending for all the wrong reasons. Good. I watched as Landon took the stage to announce our international expansion. Let them feel what it's like to be the family scandal for once. Was it worth it? She asked softly. I thought about the years of pain, the lonely holidays, the wedding invitations that never came. Then I thought about tonight. Their shocked faces, their desperate attempts to save face, their final realization that they'd lost all power over me. Every second, I replied, raising my champagne glass as Landon called me to join him on stage. The applause washed over us as I took my place beside my husband, surrounded by people who had earned their place in my life. This was my family now, and unlike the one I was born into, this one was built on something stronger than blood. It was built on choice. 1 week after the gala, I sat in my home office, 5 identical packages spread across my desk. Each contained a USB drive and a letter addressed to every member of my family, including Uncle Robert. Are you sure about this? Landon asked from the doorway. The gala footage is already everywhere. This is different. I picked up one of the letters. This is personal. The footage I'd compiled wasn't just from the gala. It included security camera clips from 7 years ago, the night they threw me out, social media posts where they'd mocked my choices, screenshots of them trying to sabotage my early career. You kept everything, he noted, looking over my shoulder at the computer screen. I learned from you. Always keep receipts. My phone buzzed, Hazel sending a link to the latest Society page article. Tech CEO's family drama exposes high society hypocrisy. They're being crucified in the press, Landon said softly. Isn't that enough? I sealed the last envelope. No, they need to understand exactly what they did. Every cruel word, every manipulative action. Alina, I'm sending these by courier. They'll arrive simultaneously. I checked my watch. In about 2 hours. Right on schedule, my phone lit up with a call from Yasmin. I let it go to voicemail. Then Matthew, then Mom. Their messages grew increasingly frantic as they watched the footage. How dare you record private family moments? Mom's voice shook with rage in her voicemail. Private family moments? I muttered, playing the security footage again. Like when you called me a disgrace? When you told the country club I was mentally unstable? The doorbell rang. Landon went to answer it while I stayed focused on the screens, watching the social media fall out in real time. Your sister's here, he called up. Which one? I asked, though I already knew. Yasmin. She's crying. I descended the stairs slowly, finding my sister collapsed on our sofa, mascara streaking her cheeks. How could you? She choked out. That footage, my friends have seen it, my boss. Karma's a mirror, Yasmin. I remained standing. It reflects back what you put out into the world. I lost my job today, she whispered. The boutique said they can't have this kind of scandal associated with their brand. Like when you told my first investors I was unstable? When you sabotaged my early contracts? She flinched. That was different. No, it wasn't. I sat across from her. You tried to destroy my life because I chose love over your toxic control. Now you're experiencing the consequences. Mom's had to resign from 3 charity boards, she said quietly. Matthew's fiance's family is reconsidering the wedding. Actions have consequences, I repeated, something our family never seemed to understand. My phone buzzed again. Uncle Robert this time? His message was brief. We need to talk, all of us. They want to meet, I told Landon after Yasmin left. Damage control, probably. Will you go? I pulled up the final video on my laptop, the one I hadn't included in the packages. Security footage from my office the day after the gala, showing me recording a message. No need, I smiled. I've already prepared my response. The video went live that evening on all major social platforms. In it, I sat at my desk, composed and professional. 7 years ago, my family gave me an ultimatum. Them or the man I loved. They thought they were punishing me. Instead, they set me free. Success isn't just about wealth or status. It's about choosing your own path, even when others try to block it. This isn't about revenge. It's about truth, about consequences, about showing that family should lift you up, not tear you down. Within hours, it had gone viral. The comments flooded in, stories of family estrangement, of toxic relationships, of choosing love over obligation. You've started a movement, Hazel texted. People are sharing their own stories. Choosing love is trending. I closed my laptop, walking to the window. Somewhere in the city, my family was watching their carefully constructed social world crumble. They were feeling what I felt, exposed, vulnerable, judged. But unlike them, I had built something real. Something that couldn't be shattered by society gossip or family disapproval. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Matthew. I understand now. What we did to you. I'm sorry. I left it unread. Some apologies come too late. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ashes. Besides, I had a company to run, a husband who loved me, and friends who had become family. That was worth more than any apology. The autumn wind whipped around me as I stood at my father's grave. The funeral had ended hours ago, but I couldn't bring myself to leave yet. Mom and the others had gone, not acknowledging my presence beyond tight-lipped glances. I thought I'd find you here, Landon said, appearing beside me. You okay? He never reached out, I said quietly. Even at the end. The headlines from last week flashed through my mind. Business tycoon dies without reconciling with CEO daughter. Maybe he wanted to, Landon offered. Pride can be a prison. So can hate. I placed a single white rose on the fresh earth. I thought revenge would feel different. Different how? More satisfying. More final. I turned away from the grave. Instead, I just feel empty. Back at the office, Hazel was waiting with fresh coffee and concern. The press wants a statement about your father's passing. No statement. I sank into my chair. Let the silence speak for itself. There's something else. She handed me an envelope. Your mother's lawyer delivered this. Inside was a letter in my father's handwriting, dated 3 days before his death. I can't, I whispered, pushing it away. Want me to read it? Hazel offered. I nodded, watching her unfold the paper. Alina, she began, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Pride kept me from saying these words while I could. I was wrong. The night we forced you to choose, we weren't protecting our family. We were destroying it. I watched you build an empire from nothing, proving every doubt wrong. You became everything we claimed to value, successful, respected, principled. But you did it without us, because of us. I'm sorry. Not because you're successful now, but because we failed you then. Your mother won't approve of this letter. Some wounds run too deep to heal, but you deserve to know. I died proud of you. Love, Dad." The office fell silent except for the hum of computers. "Alina?" Hazel touched my shoulder. "He was right," I said, standing abruptly. "Some wounds run too deep." I walked to the window, watching the city below. My phone buzzed. Yasmin trying again. She'd been calling daily since Dad's diagnosis. This time, I answered. "What do you want, Yasmin?" "I'm at the coffee shop across from your office," she said quietly. "Just, please, 5 minutes." I found her at a corner table, looking smaller somehow, defeated. "Dad's letter," she began. "Did you—" "Yes?" "He wanted to reach out so many times." She twisted her napkin. "We all did. But after what you did at the gala, exposed us." "I exposed the truth," I corrected. "Nothing more." "The truth?" She laughed bitterly. "The truth is we were terrible to you. The truth is we deserved everything you did. The truth is, I miss my sister. The sister you had died 7 years ago." "I know." She met my eyes. "But maybe the sister you are now would be willing to get coffee sometimes. No agenda, no family pressure, just coffee." I studied her face, searching for manipulation but finding only exhaustion. "Why now?" "Because Dad's death showed me something. Pride and Prejudice cost us 7 years. How many more are we willing to lose?" My phone buzzed. Landon checking in. I typed quickly. "I'm okay, having coffee with Yasmin." His response was immediate. "Remember, forgiveness is for you, not them." "Coffee," I said finally. "Once a month, just us. No Mom, no Matthew, no pressure." "Really?" Hope flickered across her face. "Really, but Yasmin." I leaned forward. "If this is another manipulation—" "It's not," she interrupted. I don't want to be at another funeral wondering about what could have been." Later, in bed, Landon held me as I finally let the tears come. "You know what's funny?" I whispered. "All that revenge, all that planning. And in the end, Dad's letter hit harder than anything I did." "Because it was real," he said softly. "No games, no manipulation, just truth." "Do you think I'm weak for agreeing to coffee with Yasmin?" "I think you're strong enough to set boundaries without building walls." I thought about Dad's letter, about Yasmin's tired eyes, about the weight of carrying anger for so long. "I'm not forgiving them," I said firmly, "but maybe I can stop letting them take up so much space in my head." "That's not weakness." Landon kissed my forehead. "That's wisdom." Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars. Somewhere out there, my family was dealing with their own regrets, their own consequences. But here, in this moment, I was finally free. Not because of revenge, but because I chose to be. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about making others hurt. It's about refusing to let them hurt you anymore. That's the revenge I should have planned all along. I stared at my phone, reading the message for the 100th time. The words hadn't changed. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but your husband's been seeing someone for months. I thought you should know. My name is Sasha, and this was how my perfect life began to unravel." I confronted Stefan that evening, my hands shaking as I held up my phone. "Is there something you want to tell me?" He glanced at the screen, and I watched his face transform from confusion to recognition to calculated calm. "Baby, it's not what you think." "Don't," my voice cracked. "Just don't. I have proof, Stefan. Pictures, messages, everything." He sat down heavily on our leather couch, the one we'd picked out together last spring. "Look, things haven't been great between us lately. You're always working late, focused on your startup ideas. I called my mom immediately after he left, expecting comfort, support, anything. Instead, her response felt like a second betrayal. "Well, honey, what did you expect? Men have needs. Maybe if you'd been more attentive." "More attentive?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, he cheated on me." "These things don't happen in a vacuum, Sasha. You've been so wrapped up in your career lately. Stefan's such a good man. He provides for you. He's charming.
I hung up. My best friend Margaret arrived within 30 minutes, armed with wine and fierce loyalty. Your mother said what? She paced my living room fuming. That's absolutely insane. It gets worse, I said, taking a long sip of wine. My dad called. He thinks I should work it out with Stefan. Apparently I'm being hasty and emotional. Of course you're emotional. Your husband cheated on you. The doorbell rang. It was my sister Jolie, looking concerned but distant. Mom sent me to talk some sense into you. Sense? I laughed bitterly. You mean convince me to stay with a cheater? He made a mistake, Sasha, but you're not exactly innocent here. When was the last time you made him feel appreciated? When was the last time you put your marriage before your career? I stood up, my wine glass trembling in my hand. Get out! Sasha, get out! The glass shattered against the wall, red wine streaming down like blood. All of you, my whole family, you're defending him? After what he did to me? Margaret stepped between us. I think you should leave, Jolie. After she left, I collapsed onto the floor, surrounded by broken glass and spilled wine. They're all taking his side. My own family. Then they don't deserve you, Margaret said firmly, kneeling beside me. Listen to me, Sasha. You're brilliant, strong, and capable. If they can't see that, it's their loss. The next week was a blur of lawyers, mediation attempts, and more betrayals. My family staged an intervention, all of them gathered in my parents' living room like I was some wayward teenager. Stefan's willing to work through this, my mother said, hope bright in her eyes. He loves you, sweetie. He's sorry, my father added. Everyone makes mistakes. I looked at their earnest faces, my mother, my father, my sister, all convinced they knew what was best for me, all choosing him over me. Something inside me hardened, turned to steel. I'm done, I said quietly. What do you mean, done? Jolie asked. I stood up, straightening my spine. I mean, I'm done with all of you. You want Stefan so badly? Keep him, but you lose me in the process. Don't be dramatic, my mother scoffed. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being clear. From this moment on, don't call me, don't text me, don't try to contact me. We're finished. You can't mean that, my father said, finally looking worried. We're your family. No, I replied, walking to the door. Family doesn't do this to each other. Family stands by you when you're hurt. Family protects you. You're just people who share my DNA. I walked out of that house with nothing but my purse and my dignity. Behind me, I could hear my mother calling my name, my father's heavy sigh, Jolie's frustrated grunt. I didn't look back. In my car, I called Margaret. I did it. I cut them off. Are you okay? I started the engine, watching my childhood home grow smaller in the rearview mirror. No, but I will be. They think I'm nothing without Stefan? They think I'm the failure here? Just watch me prove them wrong. I pulled onto the main road, my hands steady on the wheel for the first time in days. Sometimes the end of everything is really just the beginning. And this was my beginning, my chance to show them all exactly what I was capable of. 3 months after walking out on my family, I sat across from a potential investor in a sleek downtown coffee shop, trying not to show how desperately I needed this meeting to go well. Your business plan is solid, Fabian said, studying the document spread between us. But why come to me? There are bigger firms that would jump at this. I took a careful sip of my coffee. Because you have a reputation for backing underdogs, and right now that's exactly what I am. He leaned back, dark eyes studying me intently. Tell me the truth. Why start this now? Your resume shows you were in corporate marketing for years. What changed? Everything changed, I admitted. I lost my marriage, my family, my support system. But I gained clarity. This business idea? It's been in my head for years. I just needed the push to actually do it. Margaret, who'd insisted on coming for moral support, chimed in from beside me. She's been developing this concept for ages. I've watched her refine it, perfect it. Fabian nodded slowly. A digital marketing agency specifically for small businesses priced out of traditional agencies. It's not revolutionary, but your approach is unique. He tapped the business plan. And your pricing structure could disrupt the market. So? I held my breath. So, I'm in. But I want 30% equity and an active role in operations. Margaret squeezed my hand under the table as I replied, 25%, and you can have your active role. He grinned. Done. Welcome to entrepreneurship, Sasha. The next few months were a blur of 18-hour days, endless coffee, and the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones. But slowly, surely, we began to build something real. Another client signed, I announced, bursting into our small office space one morning. That makes 10 this month. Fabian looked up from his computer, smiling. The Miller account? They've been on the fence for weeks. Not anymore. I showed them our results from the Thompson campaign, and they were sold. This calls for a celebration, Margaret declared, spinning in her chair. She'd joined us as our PR director last month. Drinks after work? Later that evening, at our favorite bar, Fabian raised his glass. To Sasha, who turned a setback into a comeback. To Karma, Margaret added with a wink. I froze mid-sip. What do you mean? Oh, I ran into Jolie at the grocery store yesterday. Apparently, Stefan's new business venture isn't going so well. Something about investment problems? My stomach twisted. I don't want to know. Yes, you do, Margaret insisted. He's been hitting up your parents for money. They're considering remortgaging their house to help him. That's not my problem anymore, I said firmly, but Fabian was watching me carefully. It bothers you, though, he observed. Of course it does. They're being idiots, but they're still my... I stopped myself. They made their choice. Speaking of choices, Margaret interjected, pulling out her phone. Look who just viewed your LinkedIn profile. I glanced at the screen and nearly choked on my drink. Stefan's face stared back at me, his profile showing he'd viewed mine multiple times in the past week. Curious about your success? Fabian asked. More likely looking for investors, I muttered. He always did have a talent for spotting opportunity. You've come a long way, Margaret said softly. Remember that first week after everything happened? You were sleeping on my couch, barely eating. And now? I gestured around us. Now I have a thriving business, amazing partners, and actual freedom. I wouldn't go back if you paid me. Fabian raised an eyebrow. Even if they apologized? They won't, I said confidently. They're too proud. Besides, I don't need their approval anymore. Look at these numbers. I pulled up our monthly revenue report on my phone. We're doing better than I ever dreamed. To independence, Margaret toasted. To new beginnings, Fabian added. I clinked my glass against theirs, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the alcohol. This was what success felt like, not just the numbers in our bank account, but the knowledge that I'd built something meaningful from the ashes of my old life. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number, but I recognized my mother's writing style immediately. Your father and I need to talk to you. It's important. Please call us. I showed the message to Margaret, who scowled. Delete it. Instead, I typed out a response. New phone, who's this? And hit send. Petty, Fabian commented with a smile. I like it. I put my phone away, refusing to let them intrude on this moment. Let them worry about Stefan and his schemes. I had an empire to build, and I was just getting started. So, I said, pulling out my tablet. Wait until you see our projections for next quarter. 1 year into running my business, I was reviewing quarterly reports when Margaret burst into my office, face flushed with urgency. You need to see this, she said, thrusting her phone at me. It showed a local news article. Local entrepreneur under investigation for investment fraud. My stomach dropped as I saw Stefan's photo beneath the headline. That's not all, Margaret continued. Scroll down. I read further, my eyes widening. Stefan had apparently been running a sophisticated investment scheme, targeting older couples with retirement savings. The victims' names weren't listed, but I had a sinking feeling I knew who some of them might be. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Sasha? My mother's voice was thick with tears. Please don't hang up. I put the phone on speaker, gesturing for Margaret to stay. What do you want? We need your help. Your father... We're going to lose the house. Stefan... Stop. I cut her off. Let me guess. You invested with him? He had such a good plan, she whispered. He showed us the projections, the testimonials from other investors. We thought we could double our retirement savings. Margaret mouthed, idiots, from across the desk. I couldn't disagree. How much? I asked. Everything. Her voice cracked. Our savings, the house equity. He said it was guaranteed returns. Nothing's guaranteed, Mom. That's literally the first rule of investing. Please, she begged. We need $200,000 to keep the house. We can pay you back. I laughed bitterly. With what? You just said you lost everything. We're your parents, Sasha. Really? Because when I needed parents, you chose Stefan. When I needed support, you blamed me. When I needed family, you turned your backs. My voice was steady, even as my hands shook. Funny how I'm suddenly your daughter again when you need money. The door opened and Fabian walked in, raising an eyebrow at my expression. I waved him in. Sasha, please, my mother continued. Your father can't sleep. Jolie tried to help, but she's struggling too. We don't know what to do. I'll tell you what to do, I said coldly. Contact the authorities, file a police report, get a lawyer, but don't call me again. I hung up, dropping my head into my hands. Your ex? Fabian asked, setting a coffee on my desk. Apparently he scammed my entire family, I said. They invested everything with him. Karma's a witch, Margaret said, but her expression was concerned. Are you okay? I'm fine. They made their bed. I straightened up, reaching for the coffee. Let's focus on work. How's the Taylor account looking? But Fabian wasn't letting it go. You should look into what he's doing. If he scammed your family, he's probably scammed others. Not my problem. No, he agreed. But it could be an opportunity. I looked up sharply. What do you mean? Think about it. Your company specializes in digital marketing for small businesses. What if we offered free services to help his victims rebuild? The publicity would be incredible, and it would drive Stefan crazy, Margaret finished, grinning. Brilliant. My phone buzzed again, a text from Jolie. Mom's a mess. Dad's talking about bankruptcy. Please help us. Another message followed. I'm sorry for everything. You were right about him. Too little. Too late, I muttered, showing the messages to Margaret. Your sister reaching out too? Fabian asked. They must be desperate. Good, I said, but something in my chest tightened. They deserve this. They do, Margaret agreed. But maybe Fabian's right. Maybe there's a way to help his other victims while making your family realize exactly what they lost when they chose him over you. I pulled up Stefan's company website on my computer. Look at this. He's still actively recruiting investors. There's an event next week. We should go, Fabian suggested. Gather intelligence. Are you crazy? He'll recognize me immediately. Not if we do it right, Margaret said, excitement building in her voice. I have a friend who does amazing makeovers. He'll never know it's you. I stared at Stefan's smiling face on the website, remembering how that same smile had convinced my family to turn against me. Now it was apparently convincing others to hand over their life savings. Fine, I said finally. But we do this my way. No confrontations, no scenes. We gather information and we help his victims. But my family? They can figure their own way out of this mess. Agreed, Fabian said, pulling out his phone. I'll start making calls. As they left my office, I looked at Jolie's messages again. I'm sorry for everything, I read aloud, tasting the bitterness of those words. Sorry wasn't going to fix this, but maybe, just maybe, I could prevent others from making the same mistake my family did. I barely recognized myself in the hotel bathroom mirror. Margaret's friend had worked magic. My usually straight dark hair was now a wavy blonde. Colored contacts changed my brown eyes to blue, and subtle contouring makeup transformed my features just enough. Ready? Margaret adjusted her own disguise, a sleek red wig and glasses. As I'll ever be. I smoothed down my designer dress, borrowed from Fabian's sister. Remember, we're potential investors from Seattle. We entered the hotel conference room where Stefan's investment seminar was being held. The space was packed with people, mostly older couples clutching folders and notepads. My stomach churned as I imagined their life savings about to be handed over to him. "There he is," Margaret whispered, nodding toward the front. Stefan looked exactly the same. Expensive suit, perfect hair, that practiced smile that had once made me feel special. He was working the room like a pro, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, touching people's arms in that familiar way that made them feel important. "Ladies," he approached us, hand extended. "Welcome. I don't believe we've met." "Amanda Pierce," I said, using my prepared alias. My heart hammered, but my voice remained steady. "This is my business partner, Rachel." "Stefan Diaz," he smiled, holding my hand a moment too long. "Seattle, right? I noticed you on the registration list. We're actually expanding our operations there." "How fascinating," I purred, channeling every ounce of confidence I had. "We're very interested in your investment structure." "Well, you're in for a treat," he winked. "We're offering special terms for our premium investors today." As he moved away to greet other guests, Margaret gripped my arm. "You okay?" "Fine, but look who just walked in." My parents slipped into the back row, looking tired and drawn. Dad's suit hung loose on his frame, and Mom's hands wouldn't stop fidgeting with her purse. "What are they doing here?" Margaret hissed. "Probably hoping to convince him to return their money," I muttered. "Let's split up. You take the left side of the room, I'll take the right. Talk to people, find out how much they've invested." The next hour was enlightening and horrifying. Stefan's presentation was slick, full of impressive graphs and testimonials. But as I circulated during the break, the stories I heard made my blood boil. "He guaranteed 20% returns," one elderly man told me. "Said it was completely safe." "We remortgaged our house," his wife added proudly. "Best decision we ever made." I escaped to the bathroom, fighting nausea. Margaret followed. "It's worse than we thought," she said, checking under the stalls to ensure we were alone. "He's got at least 30 people ready to invest today. And guess what? Your dad's been helping him recruit people from his old workplace." "What?" "Apparently, Stefan promised to pay them back if they brought in new investors." "Classic pyramid scheme," I growled. "We need to—" The bathroom door opened. My mother walked in, stopping short when she saw us. I turned quickly to the mirror, adjusting my wig, but her eyes met mine in the reflection. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then understanding dawned on her face. "Sasha?" Margaret stepped between us. "Sorry, you must be mistaken. We're from Seattle." Mom moved closer, her voice dropping. "I'd know my daughter's eyes anywhere, even with those contacts." "Sasha, please." "Your daughter?" I turned, dropping the fake accent. "Funny, I thought Stefan was your only child now." She flinched. "We made a mistake. We know that now. But he's promising to make things right if you just drag more innocent people into his scheme." I cut her off. "How can you still believe him?" "We don't have a choice. The bank's foreclosing next month. Your father's had 2 anxiety attacks. Jolie's husband left her after they lost their savings. We're desperate." "You have choices," I said coldly. "You're just making the wrong ones. Again." I moved to leave, but she grabbed my arm. "Why are you here then? In disguise?" "To gather evidence, to stop him from destroying more lives." I pulled away. "But not to help you. Never again to help you." Back in the conference room, Stefan was starting his closing pitch. I watched my father nodding along eagerly in the back row, probably already planning which former colleagues to call. My phone buzzed, a text from Fabian. "Got everything we need from his company servers. Time to pull the trigger?" I looked around the room at all the hopeful faces, at Stefan's practiced smile, at my parents' desperate expressions. Then I typed back, "Do it." Within minutes, phones around the room started buzzing. The local news story about Stefan's investigation had just been updated with new evidence we'd spent weeks gathering, including proof that he'd known exactly what he was doing when he targeted my family. The room erupted in chaos. As Stefan tried to maintain control, I slipped out with Margaret, leaving my wig and contacts in the hotel trash. Sometimes revenge isn't about what you do to people. Sometimes it's about letting them face the consequences of their own actions. The morning after the investment seminar, I arrived at my office to find Stefan waiting in the lobby. My heart jumped, but I kept my face neutral. "Nice dye job yesterday," he said, standing up. "Blonde suits you." "Security," I called out, but he raised his hands. 5 minutes, Sasha, that's all I'm asking. Why should I give you even 5 seconds? Because I can help your family recover their money. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. All of it, plus interest. I laughed. With what? The money you stole from other people? With legitimate investments. I've got deals in the pipeline. More lies? Fabian's voice cut through the lobby as he emerged from the elevator. I suggest you leave before I call the police. Stefan's charm didn't falter. "Ah, the new business partner. I've heard great things about what you two have built here." He turned back to me. "Remember when we used to talk about starting a company together? Looks like you did it without me." "I did everything without you," I said, "including learning who I really am." "Your parents are going to lose their house, Sasha. Jolie's marriage is over. Don't you care?" Before I could respond, Margaret burst through the front door, waving her phone. "Have you seen the news? Oh—" She stopped short, seeing Stefan. "What news?" Stefan and I asked simultaneously. She held up her phone, showing a breaking news alert. "Local investment scheme investigation expands. Multiple arrests expected." The color drained from Stefan's face. 5 minutes are up," I said quietly. "Security?" As they escorted him out, he called back, "This isn't over, Sasha. Your family needs you." Once he was gone, I slumped against the wall. He's right about one thing. It's not over. "No," Fabian agreed, "but it's getting there. The FBI contacted me this morning. They want to talk to you about being a witness." My phone buzzed, Jolie calling. I declined the call. "You can't avoid them forever," Margaret said gently. "Watch me." But an hour later, Jolie showed up at my office. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, clothes hanging loose on her frame. 2 minutes, I said, not offering her a seat. "I left him," she blurted out. "Rick, I mean. After we lost everything in Stefan's scheme, he changed. Started drinking, gambling what little we had left. I'm staying with friends. That's not my problem." "No," she agreed, "but I need you to know something. The day you confronted Stefan about cheating, I knew. I'd known for weeks." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "He told me not to say anything, said he was ending it, that it was just a mistake. I believed him because it was easier than facing the truth." She wiped her eyes. "I chose the easy way, and I've regretted it every day since." "Get out." "Sasha, please." "Get out!" I screamed, sending my coffee mug flying across the room. It shattered against the wall, making us both jump. Fabian appeared in the doorway. "Everything okay in here?" "My sister was just leaving," I said through clenched teeth. After she left, Fabian helped me clean up the broken mug. "You know," he said carefully, "sometimes the strongest revenge is showing people exactly what they lost." "What do you mean?" "Your company's doing amazing. You're about to be instrumental in bringing down a major fraud operation. You've built a life they can only dream of now." He paused. "Maybe that's enough." "It's not about revenge anymore," I admitted. "It's about trust. They broke something I can't fix." "No," Margaret said from the doorway, "but maybe you can build something new, something stronger." My phone buzzed again, a text from my mother. "We're meeting with bankruptcy lawyers tomorrow. I know we don't deserve your help, but please, just talk to us. We were wrong. About everything." "Delete it," Margaret advised. Instead, I typed back, "You're right. You don't deserve my help. But I'll send you the contact information for a good financial advisor. What you do with it is up to you." "That's more than they deserve," Fabian said. "Maybe," I agreed. "But it's who I am. Not who they made me, but who I chose to be." Later that evening, as we reviewed the evidence we'd be presenting to the FBI, Fabian caught me staring at an old family photo on my phone. "Missing them?" "Missing who they were supposed to be," I corrected. "But you know what? I like who I am now better than who I was then." "Good," he said, squeezing my shoulder, "because that person built something amazing." I deleted the family photo and pulled up our company's latest projections instead. The past could stay where it belonged, behind me. I had a future to build, and it was looking brighter every day. The FBI interview room was colder than I expected. Agent Torres sat across from me, reviewing my statement about Stefan's investment scheme. "So he approached you directly at your office?" she asked, tapping her pen against the desk. "Yes, offered to help my family recover their losses if I'd back off." She nodded. "We've found similar patterns. He tries to leverage personal relationships to keep people quiet." She slid a folder across the table. "Take a look at this." Inside were photos of Stefan meeting with various people, including my father, at upscale restaurants, golf courses, even church gatherings. "Your father was quite active in recruiting new investors," she said carefully. "I'm aware." My voice was flat. "Is he being charged?" "That depends on how much he knew. We're interviewing him tomorrow." She leaned forward. "Ms. White, we have enough to arrest Stefan. But with your testimony about his direct attempt to silence you, we could make an even stronger case." Before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. Another agent entered with fresh documents. "You need to see this," he told Torres. "Stefan just emptied his accounts, all of them." My stomach dropped. "He's running." "Not if we can help it." Torres was already on her phone, barking orders. I left the FBI office feeling drained. Margaret was waiting outside in her car. "Well?" she asked as I climbed in. "Stefan's trying to flee, and my dad might be facing charges." Her hand found mine. "I'm sorry, Sasha." "Don't be. They made their choices." I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from my mother, 2 from Jolie. "Let's get back to the office. I need to work." But when we arrived, Fabian was waiting with news of his own. "Stefan just called," he said. "He wants to meet. Says he has a proposition that could help everyone." "It's a trap," Margaret declared. "Obviously," I agreed. "But what if we could trap him instead?" Fabian raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking?" "He doesn't know how much evidence we have. If I meet with him, wear a wire?" "Absolutely not," Margaret interrupted. "It's too dangerous." "I'll call Agent Torres," I said, already dialing. "We do this properly by the book." 2 hours later, I sat in an upscale restaurant, wearing an FBI wire and trying to look calm. Stefan walked in right on time, still wearing his signature confident smile. "You look gorgeous," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Success suits you." "What do you want, Stefan?" He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "I want to make a deal. I can return everyone's money, your parents, Jolie, all of them. But I need your help." "My help?" "Your company is doing well, very well. I need a legitimate business to process some investments through." I took a sip of water, buying time. "You want to use my company to launder money?" "I want to make things right," he insisted. "Your parents are about to lose everything. Jolie's living on someone's couch. I can fix it all. We can fix it together, just like we used to talk about." "And if I say no?" His smile tightened. "Then I have some interesting stories to tell about your father's involvement in my investment strategy, stories the FBI might find very interesting." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm offering you a chance to save your family." He reached across the table, touching my hand. "The Sasha I married would understand that family comes first." I pulled my hand away. "The Sasha you married doesn't exist anymore. You and my family killed her." "Don't be dramatic." "No, Stefan, you don't get to do this anymore. You don't get to manipulate me, or threaten me, or use my family against me." I stood up. "We're done here." "Sasha, wait." FBI agents emerged from every corner of the restaurant. Agent Torres approached our table, badge out. "Stefan Diaz, you're under arrest for investment fraud, attempted witness tampering, and extortion." The color drained from his face as they cuffed him. "You were wearing a wire?" "Sasha, please, I can explain." "Save it for your lawyer," Torres said, leading him away. Outside, Margaret and Fabian were waiting with the FBI surveillance team. "You did it." Margaret hugged me tight. "It's over." "Not quite," I said, watching as they loaded Stefan into a police car. My father's interview is tomorrow. What are you going to do? Fabian asked. My phone buzzed, another text from my mother. They're interviewing your father tomorrow. Please help us. He doesn't deserve prison. I stared at the message for a long moment before replying. No, he doesn't. I'll have my lawyer contact the FBI in the morning. After everything they did, you're still helping? Margaret asked incredulously. I'm not doing it for them, I said, watching Stefan's police car drive away. I'm doing it for me, because I'm not them. I never was. The courthouse hallway was packed with Stefan's victims, all waiting to give their impact statements. I sat near the back, trying to be invisible, but whispers followed me anyway. That's his ex-wife. I heard she helped bring him down. Isn't that her family over there? My parents and Jolie sat on the opposite side of the hallway, not looking at me. Dad had aged a decade in the past few months, even though my lawyer had managed to get him immunity in exchange for testimony against Stefan. Margaret squeezed my hand. You don't have to stay for this. Yes, I do. The courtroom doors opened and we filed in. Stefan sat at the defendant's table wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of his usual designer suits. He turned, scanning the crowd until he found me. I met his gaze steadily. One by one, people approached the podium to share their stories. Retired teachers who lost their pensions, small business owners who remortgaged their shops, elderly couples who could no longer afford their medications. Then it was my father's turn. Stefan Diaz was like a son to me, he began, voice shaking. I trusted him with my family's future. I defended him when my daughter... He paused, looking at me for the first time in months. When my daughter tried to warn us, I chose him over her, and I lost everything, not just money, but something far more valuable. My mother started crying softly. I recruited others into his scheme, Dad continued. Friends, colleagues, people who trusted me. I'll never forgive myself for that. But worse than losing our savings, our home, our dignity, I lost my daughter's trust. And that's something Stefan Diaz can never repay. The judge called my name next. I walked to the podium, my heels clicking against the floor. Your Honor, I'm not here to talk about money, I said. Stefan didn't just steal funds. He stole trust. He turned families against each other. He made parents choose him over their children. He destroyed relationships that can never be repaired. Stefan shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The worst part, I continued, he's still doing it. Even after his arrest, he tried to manipulate me into helping him launder money by threatening my father. He doesn't feel remorse. He feels inconvenienced. After the other statements, the judge called a recess before sentencing. In the hallway, Jolie approached me hesitantly. That was brave, she said. It was true. I know. Listen, She twisted her hands together. I got a job offer. In Seattle, actually. A fresh start. Good for you. Mom and Dad are moving in with Aunt Sarah, she continued. They can't afford anything else right now. That's not my problem. No, but... She took a deep breath. Thank you for helping Dad avoid charges. You didn't have to do that. You're right, I didn't. The bailiff called us back in. The judge looked stern as she began her statement. Mr. Diaz, you have perpetrated not just financial fraud, but emotional terrorism against these families. Your actions were calculated, manipulative, and showed a complete disregard for human dignity. Stefan stood, straightening his jumpsuit. I sentence you to 15 years in federal prison, with no possibility of parole for 10 years. You are ordered to pay restitution to all victims, and you are barred from any financial industry work for life. As they led Stefan away, he called out, Sasha, please, just listen. Bailiff, the judge warned, and he fell silent. Outside the courthouse, reporters clustered around the victims. My mother broke away from their group and approached me. We're selling everything, she said quietly. The house, my jewelry, everything. To try to pay people back. Smart. Sasha, please, can we just talk? Over coffee, maybe? I looked at her tired face, at the designer purse she still carried, probably worth enough to pay someone's restitution. No, I said. You don't need coffee. You need therapy. You need to understand why you chose him over me. You need to figure out why material things matter more to you than your own daughter. Until then, we have nothing to discuss. But we're family. Family? I laughed bitterly. Family trusts each other. Family protects each other. Family apologizes when they're wrong. You've done none of those things. Fabian appeared at my side. The car's ready. Goodbye, Mom, I said, turning away. Good luck with the move. As we drove away, I watched my family growing smaller in the rearview mirror. My mother still standing where I'd left her, my father comforting a crying Jolie, all of them looking lost. Are you okay? Margaret asked from the front seat. No, I admitted, but I will be. Sometimes the hardest part of moving forward is leaving people behind. Even family? Especially family. I turned away from the window. Now, about that expansion plan we discussed. The autumn wind whipped around me as I stood outside Aunt Sarah's small house, my finger hovering over the doorbell. Margaret waited in the car, giving me space for this moment. I'd received the letter last week, handwritten, from my father. Not asking for money or help, just 3 simple words. I understand now. The door opened before I could ring. Mom stood there, looking different. No designer clothes, no perfectly styled hair. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, her gray roots showing. Sasha, she breathed, you came. I got Dad's letter. She stepped back, letting me enter. The house was small but tidy, family photos on the walls. I noticed all the ones of Stefan had been removed. Dad sat at the kitchen table, a therapy workbook open in front of him. He stood when he saw me, uncertain. You look well, he said softly. Business is good. We know, Mom said. We've been following your company's success online, that contract with the national retail chain. I didn't come to discuss business. Dad nodded. We've been in therapy, both of us, learning about narcissistic manipulation, about why we were such easy targets for Stefan. And we discovered something ugly about ourselves, Mom said, sitting down. We cared more about appearances than reality, more about status than truth, more about money than, she choked up, than our own daughter's happiness. We failed you, Dad added. Not just with Stefan, but long before that, always pushing you to be what we wanted, never seeing who you really were. I remained standing, arms crossed. Why tell me this now? Because we finally understand what we lost, Mom said. Not the house or the money or the social status. We lost you, and that's the one thing we can never replace. We're not asking for forgiveness, Dad continued. We don't deserve it. We just wanted you to know that we see it now. All of it. How strong you were, how right you were, how incredibly capable you've always been. My throat tightened. I needed you to see that years ago. We know, Mom whispered. We know. A small meow interrupted us. A scruffy orange cat wound around my legs. That's hope, Dad said with a slight smile. From the shelter where I volunteer now. Helping animals it's helping me be better. And I'm teaching art at the community center, Mom added. No pay, just giving back. I sat down finally, letting out a long breath. Jolie told me you've been making restitution payments to Stefan's victims. Every penny we can spare, Dad confirmed. It'll take years, but it's the right thing to do, Mom finished. We sat in silence for a moment, the cat purring between us. I'm getting married, I said suddenly, to Fabian, in the spring. Mom's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't move to hug me or make demands. Instead, she asked quietly, Are you happy? The simple question, the one they'd never asked before, broke something inside me. Yes, I said. I am. Dad nodded, wiping his eyes. That's all we should have ever wanted for you. I stood up. I need to go, but I pulled out a business card, writing on the back. This is my personal number. Not for emergencies, not for help, just if you want to talk, sometimes. They both nodded, understanding the gift and its limitations. Outside, Margaret rolled down the window. You okay? I looked back at the house where my parents stood in the doorway, not reaching for me, not demanding anything, just watching with hope and regret mingled on their faces. They're different, I said. People can change, she replied, if they want to badly enough. Maybe. I got in the car. But trust has to be earned. And love? I thought about Fabian waiting at home, about the family Margaret and I had built at our company, about the strength I'd found in myself. Love was never the problem, I said finally. Love was always there, but love without respect, without trust, without understanding, it's not enough. As we drove away, I typed out a text. Thank you for understanding, finally. The response came quickly. Thank you for showing us how. We're proud of who you've become, even if we had nothing to do with it. I smiled slightly, putting my phone away. Sometimes the happy ending isn't about forgiveness or reconciliation. Sometimes it's about understanding your own worth, setting your own boundaries, and finding peace with the space between what was and what is. Let's go home, I told Margaret. We have a wedding to plan. And for the first time in years, the word home felt completely right.
The first thing I noticed when I pulled into our driveway was the sold sign stabbed into our front lawn like a knife through my heart. My hands trembled on the steering wheel as I stared at the empty space where my father's truck should have been. Instead, there sat a gleaming red Porsche 911 that I'd never seen before. My name is Valentina, and after spending 3 months teaching art to underprivileged kids in Guatemala, I'd expected a warm welcome home. Not this. I fumbled for my phone and called my mother. She picked up on the first ring. Val, honey, you're back. Mom, why is there a sold sign in front of our house? The silence on the other end made my stomach turn. We were going to tell you? She started, her voice small. Why don't you come inside? We can explain everything. I grabbed my backpack from the passenger seat and marched up the familiar path to our front door. The garden I'd planted last spring was overgrown with weeds. Mom opened the door before I could use my key. Surprise. Rowan's voice boomed from behind her. My younger brother bounded forward, practically vibrating with excitement. Check out my new ride. Isn't she beautiful? I looked from my mother's nervous face to Rowan's beaming one. You sold our house for a car? It's not just any car, Rowan protested. It's a Porsche 911 GT3. Do you know how rare these are? Where's Dad? I demanded, pushing past them into the house. At the shop, Mom said, wringing her hands. He's been working late these days. I walked through our home, my childhood home, taking in the half-packed boxes scattered everywhere. Family photos were missing from the walls, leaving behind pale rectangles on the faded wallpaper. When do we have to move out? My voice cracked. 2 weeks, Mom whispered. 2 weeks? I spun around. And where exactly are we moving to? Rowan shrugged. Mom and Dad are getting an apartment. I'm staying with Kyle until I figure something out. You're kidding me. I sank onto the couch, our old leather couch where Dad used to read me stories. Please tell me this is some sick joke. Val, honey. Mom sat beside me, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. We know it's a shock, but... My phone buzzed. A text from Gia. Heard you're back. Come over? I can't do this right now. I stood up, grabbing my backpack. I need some air. But you just got here, Mom called after me. We haven't even heard about your trip. Maybe you should have thought about that before selling the house I grew up in without telling me. I slammed the door behind me, nearly running into Rowan's precious Porsche. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Gia's kitchen, clutching a mug of tea while she listened to me rant. They didn't even call you? She asked, eyes wide. Not a word. 3 months of spotty internet in Guatemala, and not once did they mention, oh, by the way, we're selling the house so your brother can play Fast and Furious. You can stay here as long as you need, Gia offered immediately. The spare room's yours. Thanks. I took a shaky breath. I just don't understand. Mom and Dad always said this house was their retirement plan. Why would they... My phone rang. Mom again. I declined the call. There's gotta be more to this story, Gia said, refilling my mug. Your parents aren't usually this impulsive. You didn't see Rowan, I muttered. He was practically dancing. Meanwhile, Mom looked like she was about to throw up. Another call, this time from an unknown number. I was about to decline it when Gia grabbed my wrist. "That's Whitney's number, from the bank," she said. "You might want to take that," I answered, putting it on speaker. "Hello? Valentina, this is Whitney Jensen from First National. I'm calling about your family's accounts." She paused. "I think there's something you need to know." My heart dropped as I met Gia's concerned gaze. Whatever Whitney had to say, I knew my homecoming was about to get even worse. "What's going on?" I asked. "I probably shouldn't be making this call," Whitney said, her voice low. "But I've known your family for years, and, well, the house sale isn't just about your brother's car. Your mother's been hiding something, and it's about to come crashing down on all of you." I gripped the phone tighter, my tea growing cold beside me. "I'm listening." I sat at our kitchen table the next morning, surrounded by scattered papers and credit card statements that Whitney had helped me obtain. My mother's hands shook as she poured coffee, spilling drops onto the growing pile of bills. $170,000, I said, my voice flat. "How did you hide this much debt from Dad?" Mom collapsed into a chair. "I was trying to protect everyone. By maxing out credit cards? Taking out personal loans?" I held up a statement. "Mom, there's a shopping spree here for $5,000 from last month." "Your father's business was struggling," she whispered. "I had to maintain appearances, for clients, for the community." The front door slammed and Dad trudged in, looking older than I'd ever seen him. His construction company shirt was covered in dust. "You're home early," Mom said, quickly trying to gather the papers. "Leave them," I ordered. "He needs to see this." Dad's eyes narrowed. "See what?" "Sit down, Dad. We need to talk about why the house was really sold." The next hour was brutal. Dad's face turned from confusion to shock to fury as I laid out the evidence. Mom's secret credit cards, the personal loans, the second mortgage she'd taken out without telling him. "The car dealership," Dad said suddenly, turning to Mom. "You told me we had the money for Rowan's down payment." "I got another loan," she admitted. "The house sale was supposed to cover everything, give us a fresh start." "A fresh start?" I laughed bitterly. "The house sold for $320. After paying off your debts and Rowan's car, you'll barely have enough for first and last month's rent on an apartment." The screen door creaked and Rowan walked in, keys jingling in his hand. "Why is everyone looking so serious?" "Perfect timing," I said. "How much did that car cost?" He grinned. $120, but I got a great deal." "Sit down," Dad growled. "Your mother and I need to explain something." As the truth came out, Rowan's face crumpled. "But you said we could afford it. You said—" "We lied," Mom whispered. "I lied. To everyone." The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Whitney from the bank standing on our porch, holding a thick envelope. "Come in," I called out. Whitney entered, her professional demeanor cracking slightly at the tension in the room. "I hate to make this worse, but there's something else you need to know." She placed the envelope on the table. "The bank is initiating foreclosure proceedings on your business property, Stanley." Dad's face went white. "What?" "The last 3 mortgage payments bounced," Whitney explained gently. "With the credit issues we've uncovered, I'm sorry, but the bank has to protect its interests." "My shop," Dad mumbled. "Everything I built." "There might be a way," Whitney said, glancing at me. "If you can secure alternative financing within 30 days, I'll sell the car," Rowan interrupted. Everyone turned to look at him. "We can use that money, right?" Mom reached for his hand. "Honey, the car loan is underwater. We'd lose money selling it now." "This is insane." I stood up, pacing. "I leave for 3 months and everything falls apart? What happened to the responsible parents who taught me to balance my checkbook? Who made me save half my allowance?" "We got lost," Dad said quietly. "Somewhere between keeping up appearances and not wanting to disappoint anyone." "Well, congratulations. You've disappointed everyone." I turned to Whitney. "What exactly would it take to stop the foreclosure?" She named a figure that made my stomach clench. It was almost exactly what I had in my secret account, Money from art sales I'd been squirreling away for years. I might be able to help, I said slowly. But things are going to change around here. Starting with complete transparency. No more secrets, no more lies. You'd do that? Mom asked, tears in her eyes. After how we've treated you, I'm not doing it for you, I said firmly. I'm doing it because I refuse to watch this family implode. But there will be conditions, strict ones. Anything, Dad said. We'll start with financial counseling. All of us. I looked at Rowan. And that car? It's going up for sale tomorrow, whether we take a loss or not. Consider it the price of your lesson in consequences. Whitney pulled out her business card. I can recommend someone. A financial advisor who specializes in family debt restructuring. As everyone nodded their agreement, my phone buzzed. A notification from my art dealer. Another piece had sold, for more than I'd ever gotten before. I looked around at my broken family. Mom's shame, Dad's defeat, Rowan's guilt, and felt a strange mix of anger and determination. They'd never taken my art seriously, had they? Never believed I could make real money from it. Well, they were about to learn just how wrong they'd been. And maybe, just maybe, that would be the sweetest revenge of all. The financial advisor's office felt too small for the 5 of us. Mom kept fidgeting with her purse strap while Dad stared at the floor. Rowan slouched in his chair, trying to look anywhere but at the spreadsheet displayed on the advisor's screen. Let me get this straight. Sarah, the advisor said. You want to use your savings to stop the foreclosure and help restructure your family's debt? Yes, I replied, sliding my bank statements across her desk. But I have conditions. Sarah raised an eyebrow as she reviewed my finances. This is impressive. Your art sales have been consistently growing. I caught Mom's startled expression from the corner of my eye. You've been selling your paintings? She asked. For these amounts? Surprised? I kept my voice neutral. Turns out those art classes you called a waste of time weren't so useless after all. Sarah cleared her throat. Let's discuss your conditions, Valentina. I pulled out a document I'd prepared. First, I want my name on the house deed when we buy it back. Second, everyone in this room gets access to a budgeting app where all expenses must be logged. Third, weekly family meetings to review finances. That's ridiculous, Rowan protested. I'm an adult. An adult who lived at home rent-free while buying a luxury car, I shot back. You want my help? These are my terms. Dad leaned forward. What else? Mom and Dad need separate bank accounts. No more secret credit cards. And Rowan? I turned to my brother. You'll pay rent. To me. The room fell silent. Sarah nodded approvingly as she reviewed my terms. These are actually very reasonable conditions, she said. I've seen families torn apart by less than this. You're lucky Valentina's willing to help. Lucky? I laughed. They're lucky I didn't let everything crash and burn, which I seriously considered. Val. Mom reached for my hand. I pulled away. Don't. This isn't forgiveness. This is me preventing a disaster and making sure it never happens again. My phone buzzed. Another notification from my art dealer. I checked it and nearly dropped my phone. Everything okay? Sarah asked. My latest piece just sold. For $15,000. Rowan whistled. 15 grand for one painting? It's a triptych, I said automatically, then caught myself. Not that you'd know what that means since you never came to any of my shows. When can we start the restructuring process? Dad interrupted, his voice heavy with shame. Sarah pulled out more papers. We can begin today. But first, everyone needs to sign these agreements accepting Valentina's conditions. One by one, they signed. Mom's hand trembled so badly she had to start over. When Rowan's turn came, he hesitated. The car really has to go? The car that's worth less than you owe? Yes. I stood up and walked to the window. In fact, we're going to the dealership right after this. I already made an appointment. You what? Did you think I was joking about taking control? I turned back to face them. This isn't a negotiation. It's a rescue mission with rules. 2 hours later, we stood in the dealership as Rowan handed over his keys. The salesman's fake sympathy was almost worse than the significant loss we had to pay to get out of the loan. "I hate you," Rowan muttered as we walked out. "Hate me all you want," I replied. "But remember this feeling the next time you want to make a stupid financial decision." Back at home, I was packing more boxes when Jonah, my colleague from school, stopped by. He'd been the first person to buy one of my paintings years ago. "I heard about your big sale," he said, helping me wrap photo frames. "The gallery owner called me. She wants to know if you'd consider a solo show." I nearly dropped the frame I was holding. "What?" "Apparently, your last few pieces caught the attention of some serious collectors. They want to see more." Mom appeared in the doorway carrying a box labeled kitchen. "A solo show? Val, that's wonderful." "Is it?" I asked coldly. I thought art was just a hobby, something to do between real jobs. Mom set down the box. "I was wrong. We were all wrong. I see that now." "Too little, too late." "Maybe," Jonah said gently. "This is your chance to show them exactly what you're capable of." I looked around the half-packed house at the spaces where my paintings used to hang. Mom had sold them at a garage sale years ago, calling them clutter. Now my art was worth more than they could imagine. "You know what?" I said, a plan forming in my mind. "You're right. Tell the gallery owner I'm in. And Mom?" I turned to her, my voice firm. "You and Dad are going to help set it up, every last detail. Consider it part of your education." The look on her face was worth every penny I was about to spend saving this family from themselves. "The bank is willing to halt the foreclosure proceedings," Whitney said, spreading documents across her desk. "But we need to move quickly. The funds must be transferred within 48 hours. I nodded, sliding my cashier's check across the desk. "Here's the down payment. The rest will be wired this afternoon." Whitney studied me with a mix of admiration and concern. "Are you absolutely sure about this, Valentina? It's a lot of money." "I'm sure about one thing. I'm not losing our home." I picked up the pen. "Where do I sign?" As I scrawled my signature across multiple pages, my phone kept buzzing. Mom had sent 15 texts since breakfast, all about the upcoming gallery show. "Your mother seems excited," Whitney observed, noticing my phone's constant movement. "She's trying to make up for lost time. Yesterday, she actually asked me to explain the difference between oils and acrylics." I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. Funny how interest follows money. The door to Whitney's office burst open. Jonah rushed in, out of breath. "Sorry to interrupt, but Val, you need to see this." He thrust his phone at me. On the screen was a local news article. "Luxury car theft ring busted. Multiple vehicles recovered." My heart stopped as I read further. There, in the list of recovered vehicles, was a red Porsche 911 GT3, the exact model Rowan had bought. "The car dealer who sold to Rowan," Jonah explained. "He was part of the ring. They were selling stolen cars with clean titles." Whitney immediately started typing on her computer. "This could complicate things. If the car was stolen property, it means Rowan's loan might be void." I finished. "And the loss we took selling it could be recoverable," Whitney confirmed. "But you'll need to act fast. That car's going to auction in 3 days." I looked at the stack of papers we'd just finished signing. "Can you hold these until tomorrow? I need to make some calls." An hour later, I sat in a detective's office while he confirmed what Jonah had discovered. The car had indeed been stolen and the dealer was in custody. "Your brother's lucky," the detective said. "Some of these vehicles were sold to drug traffickers. He could have been caught up in something much worse." Back at home, I found Rowan sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He'd been moping ever since selling the car. "Get up," I ordered. "We need to talk." "More lectures about financial responsibility?" he muttered. I tossed the news article onto his lap. "No, lectures about how your dream car was actually stolen property." He sat up so fast he dropped his phone. "What?" "The dealer's been arrested. The car's going to auction." I crossed my arms. Care to guess who has power of attorney over all family legal matters now? Rowan's face went through several emotions before settling on hope. You mean, I can file a claim to recover our losses, but first... I sat down beside him. Tell me the truth. Did you know? About the car being stolen? No, I swear. He ran his hands through his hair. I wanted it so bad. The dealer said he could make it happen even with my credit score. And that didn't raise any red flags? I guess I didn't want to see them. He looked at me properly for the first time in days. Are you going to help get the money back? Yes, I said, but not for you. For the family. And you're going to earn it back. Every penny. How? You're going to help set up my gallery show. Heavy lifting, running errands, whatever needs doing, and... I smiled slightly. You're going to learn about art. Real art. Starting with the difference between oils and acrylics. He groaned. Seriously? Dead seriously. Mom's already studying. Dad's been watching art history documentaries. Your turn. My phone buzzed again. The gallery owner this time. I answered on speaker. Valentina, we need to move your show up. There's been huge interest since your last sale. How's next month? I watched Rowan's eyes widen at the professional tone in her voice, the obvious respect. Next month works, I replied. My family's helping with setup. Excellent. We'll need at least 15 pieces. After hanging up, I turned to Rowan. Still think art's just a hobby? He shook his head. I was wrong. We all were. He paused. Val? Thanks for not letting everything fall apart. Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen the study schedule I made for you. As I walked upstairs to my makeshift studio, I heard him call after me. Hey, what are oils and acrylics anyway? I smiled despite myself. Maybe, just maybe, this revenge was teaching them more than I'd planned. And somewhere between their humbling and my rising success, I was finding a satisfaction deeper than anger. But we weren't done yet. Not by a long shot. The police auction house buzzed with tension as Dad, Rowan, and I sat in the crowded room. The red Porsche gleamed under harsh fluorescent lights, looking somehow smaller than I remembered. Lot number 47, the auctioneer announced. 2023 Porsche 911 GT3, recovered from illegal sales ring. Rowan shifted in his seat. I can't believe I didn't notice anything wrong with the paperwork. Because you didn't bother to read it, I muttered, clutching our lawyer's briefcase. Lucky for you, I read everything now. The bidding started. We watched as the price climbed steadily upward, already exceeding what Rowan had paid. Dad's hands were clenched tight in his lap. Going once at $145,000. I glanced at our lawyer, who nodded. We had the documentation ready. Proof of our previous purchase, the fraud claim, everything needed to recover our losses. Sold to bidder number 183. As the crowd thinned out, our lawyer approached the auction officials. 20 minutes later, we walked out with a check that would cover not just our losses, but provide a decent settlement for the fraud. I don't deserve this, Rowan said quietly as we drove home. No, you don't, I agreed. But the family needs it, and you're going to earn it back. We pulled into our driveway. My driveway now, technically, to find Mom standing on the porch with Gia. They were surrounded by large canvases. Your latest pieces arrived from the framer, Mom called out, actually bouncing with excitement. Wait until you see how beautiful they look. I turned to Rowan. Ready for your first art lesson? He groaned but followed me up the path. Over the past week, he'd been surprisingly diligent about studying the art books I'd assigned him. This one, Mom said, pointing to a large abstract piece, is done in oils, right? I can tell by the texture and the way the colors blend. Very good, I said, trying not to smile at her eagerness. What else do you notice? The composition draws your eye in a spiral, Rowan offered hesitantly. Like that thing you made me read about? The golden ratio? Gia's eyebrows shot up. Someone's been studying. He better be, I said. The gallery opening's in 3 weeks, and he's giving tours. I'm what? Rowan's face went pale. You heard me. You're going to explain every piece to potential buyers. which means you need to understand them completely. Dad emerged from his workshop covered in sawdust. He'd been building display pedestals for my sculptures, throwing himself into the project with unexpected enthusiasm. "The bases are almost done," he said. "Used that special finish you wanted. Cost a fortune, but—" He shrugged. "Quality matters in art, right?" I blinked hard, fighting unexpected tears. Where was this support when I was in high school, begging for art supplies? When I was in college, changing my major to art education despite their disapproval? My phone rang. The gallery owner again. "Valentina? We have a problem. Our featured artist for next week canceled. We'd like to move your show up. Can you be ready in 8 days?" I looked at my family, all frozen in anticipation of my answer. "I'll need help. Lots of it. You have it," Mom said immediately. "Whatever you need. Even if it means missing your book club?" She flushed. I canceled my membership. It was an unnecessary expense. "And I sold my gaming system," Rowan added. "Been using the time to study instead." I turned back to my phone. "We'll be ready in 8 days. After hanging up, I addressed my family. "Okay, new schedule. Dad, those pedestals need to be done in 4 days. Mom, you're in charge of the guest list and refreshments, on a budget. Rowan, we're doubling your study sessions." "What about me?" Gia asked. "You're keeping me sane." I picked up one of the canvases. "And helping me decide where each piece should hang for maximum impact." As everyone scattered to their tasks, I caught Rowan studying one of my paintings intently. "This one," he said slowly. "It's about us, isn't it? The broken pieces coming back together?" I stepped closer. The painting showed shattered glass reforming into a stronger, more beautiful pattern. "Maybe," I admitted. "Art is open to interpretation." "I get it now," he said quietly. "Why you were so angry? We never saw you. Really saw you. Not until you forced us to look." "Through revenge?" He shook his head. "Through teaching us to see beauty in broken things." From the workshop came the sound of Dad's saw. Mom's voice drifted from the kitchen as she canceled another unnecessary subscription. Gia was measuring wall spaces, muttering about lighting angles. 8 days, I said. "Think you can learn enough by then?" Rowan picked up another art book from the stack I'd given him. "I'm starting to realize there's a lot more to learn than just oils and acrylics." I watched him settle onto the couch, actually opening the book without being prompted. Maybe this revenge wasn't just about making them see me. Maybe it was about helping them see themselves more clearly, too. "The lighting's wrong," I said, staring at the gallery walls. "The shadows are falling directly on the focal points." It was 2 days before the opening, and everything that could go wrong was. The catering company Mom had booked canceled last minute. 3 of Dad's pedestals needed reinforcement, and Rowan was having a panic attack about public speaking. "We can adjust the track lighting," Gia suggested, already climbing the ladder. "Maybe if we angle them more toward the corners?" The gallery door chimed. Jonah walked in carrying a stack of programs. "Fresh from the printer, and you've got 2 reporters confirmed for opening night." "Reporters?" Rowan looked up from where he was practicing his art terminology. "Like, real ones?" "From the city paper and an online arts magazine." Jonah handed me a program. "They're interested in the local artist makes good angle." "Local artist saves family and forces cultural education," Gia muttered, adjusting another light. Mom burst through the door, slightly out of breath. "I found a new caterer. They can do it for half the original budget, and they're available." "What's the catch?" I asked, knowing there had to be one. "Well," she hesitated. "They're students from the culinary school, but they're talented. I tried their samples." "Did you check their references?" Mom pulled out her phone, showing me a detailed spreadsheet. 3 events in the past month, all with good reviews. I also calculated cost per head, factored in a 20% contingency for extras, and built in a cancellation clause. I stared at her. This was the same woman who'd hidden credit card bills in potted plants. "The financial counseling is really helping," she said quietly. I'm learning to research everything, plan ahead, consider consequences. Mom's been teaching me too, Rowan added. Did you know there's an app that calculates compound interest? The numbers are terrifying. Dad appeared from the back room, wiping varnish from his hands. Pedestals are fixed, double reinforced the bases, added stabilizers. They're not going anywhere. Unlike our savings, Mom said, then quickly added, that was a joke, a bad one. Sorry. I checked my watch. Rowan, run through your tour speech again. Start with the triptych. He stood straighter, gesturing to the 3-panel piece. This work explores themes of fragmentation and reunion. Notice how the artist uses contrasting textures, smooth versus impasto, to create tension between the panels. The color palette suggests both conflict and resolution. He's actually good at this, Gia whispered to me. Who knew your brother had an eye for art? Speaking of eyes, Jonah interrupted. You need to see this. He held up his tablet, showing an email from a prestigious gallery in the city. They're interested in your work. Want to discuss representation. The room fell silent. Even Gia stopped adjusting lights. The city? Mom breathed. That's huge. It's an opportunity, I said carefully. But my focus needs to be here right now. No, Rowan said firmly. You can't pass this up. Not for us. Watch me. I turned back to the lighting issue, but Dad stepped in front of me. Valentina, he said, using my full name for the first time in years. We've held you back enough. This isn't about, yes, it is. Mom joined him. We failed to support your dreams for years. We're not doing it again. But the family finances are under control, Mom finished. Thanks to you. The debt restructuring is working. We're sticking to our budgets. Even Rowan got a part-time job. Assistant at the art supply store. Rowan grinned. Employee discount on canvas and oils. I looked around the gallery, at the perfectly spaced paintings, the solid pedestals, the carefully planned lighting. At my family, working together, learning together. The City Gallery wants to meet next week, Jonah said. After your opening here. You should go, Gia added. They're right. You've done enough heavy lifting for this family. My phone buzzed. A notification from our shared budgeting app. Dad had logged his latest business expense, properly categorized and with a receipt attached. Mom had recorded canceling another unnecessary subscription. Rowan had deposited his first paycheck. Maybe, I said slowly. It's time to trust you all can stand on your own. We won't let you down, Mom promised. Not again. Besides, Rowan added with a smirk, I need to prove I can explain art better than those city gallery guides. The lighting's perfect now, Gia called from the ladder. Want to see? She flipped a switch and suddenly my work came alive on the walls. The shadows fell exactly where they should, highlighting every texture, every carefully chosen color. It's beautiful, Dad said softly. Just like we always should have seen it. I swallowed hard, looking at my family in the gallery's gentle light. They'd changed. We'd all changed. Maybe revenge didn't have to mean watching them fall. Maybe it could mean watching them rise instead. Okay, I said. After the opening, I'll take the meeting in the city. That's my girl. Dad smiled. Now, let's make this show unforgettable. Opening night buzzed with energy as people filled the gallery. The student caterers circulated with elegant hors d'oeuvres, while Mom worked the room like a seasoned socialite, albeit one who kept meticulous track of every expense on her phone. And this piece, I heard Rowan telling a group of collectors, represents the transformation of chaos into order. Notice how the brushstrokes become more controlled as your eye moves across the canvas. He's a natural, Jonah said, appearing beside me with 2 glasses of champagne. That's the 3rd group he's impressed tonight. A reporter from the city paper approached, notebook in hand. Valentina, could we do that interview now? Before I could answer, a commotion near the entrance caught everyone's attention. A well-known collector from the city had arrived, Marcus Sterling, famous for launching artists' careers with his purchases. Did you invite him? I whispered to Gia. Didn't have to. Your last piece caught his eye at an auction. I watched as Marcus moved through the gallery, studying each work intently. Dad hovered nearby, ready to explain the custom pedestals he'd built. The pride in his voice was unmistakable. Your father's craftsmanship is exceptional, Marcus commented, running a hand along one of the bases. It complements the sculptures perfectly. Was this a collaborative vision? Actually, Dad said, my daughter taught me everything I know about presentation. I used to think art was just about the piece itself, but she showed me how every element matters. Marcus nodded approvingly before moving to the triptych that had started everything. Rowan was already there, launching into his practiced explanation. The artist uses negative space to create tension between connection and separation. It's a deeply personal work about family dynamics. You seem very familiar with the piece, Marcus observed. Rowan's voice caught slightly. I am. It's about my family, about how we almost lost everything, including each other. The reporter scribbled frantically in her notebook. And now? Marcus asked. Now we're learning about art, about responsibility, about really seeing each other. Rowan met my eyes across the room. My sister's work taught us that. Marcus turned to me. Your brother's interpretation is quite moving, as is your mother's obvious dedication to managing this event. They've changed, I said simply. As have you, I expect. He gestured to the paintings. Your earlier work showed anger, rebellion. These newer pieces speak of transformation, redemption even. The reporter edged closer, still writing. Sometimes, I said carefully, revenge isn't about destroying what hurt you. It's about building something better from the ruins. Speaking of building, Marcus pulled out his checkbook. I'd like to acquire the triptych and discuss featuring your work in my gallery's upcoming Modern Artists Showcase. The room seemed to hold its breath. Mom stopped mid-conversation. Dad's hand froze on a pedestal. Rowan actually crossed his fingers. The triptych isn't for sale, I said firmly. Marcus raised an eyebrow. I'm prepared to offer. It belongs to my family, I interrupted, but I have several new pieces I'd be happy to show you. A slow smile spread across his face. Even better, an artist who knows the value of both commerce and sentiment. He turned to the reporter. You'll want to note this moment. You're watching the birth of a significant new voice in contemporary art. The next hour passed in a blur of sales, interviews, and congratulations. 3 pieces sold to serious collectors. The arts magazine wanted to do a feature. Marcus's gallery assistant scheduled a meeting for next week. Finally, as the crowd thinned, my family gathered around the triptych. You could have sold it, Rowan said. It would have covered a lot of the remaining debt. Some things are worth more than money, I replied. Besides, you need it to practice your art lectures on. Mom wiped tears from her eyes. I keep thinking about how we almost lost everything. Our home, our relationships, our dignity. But we didn't, Dad said firmly. Thanks to Val. Thanks to all of us, I corrected. You had to be willing to change. Speaking of change, Gia called from the entrance. Your last guest wants to say goodbye. Whitney from the bank stepped forward, holding a folder. I brought something to celebrate your success. She handed me the folder. The final paperwork. The house is officially in your name and the family debt consolidation is complete. Mom started crying again. Dad put his arm around her. One last thing, Whitney said. The bank's trust department is very impressed with how you've handled everything. They'd like to discuss managing your art sales proceeds. I looked at Mom. Want to sit in on that meeting? Put your new financial skills to work? She beamed through her tears. I'd love that. As we locked up the gallery later that night, I paused in front of the triptych. The middle panel showed broken pieces swirling in chaos. The final panel revealed those same pieces forming something new, something stronger. Ready to go home? Rowan asked, emphasizing the word home. I nodded, thinking of the house that was now mine, the family that was finally whole, and the revenge that had turned into restoration. "Yes," I said. "I'm ready." The morning sun streamed through our living room windows, highlighting the triptych that now hung in pride of place above the fireplace. Mom sat at the dining table, reviewing spreadsheets for my upcoming city gallery show, while Dad measured wall space for new installations. "The budget looks solid," Mom said, tapping her calculator, "even with the upgraded shipping crates you wanted." "Look who's talking about upgraded anything," I teased. "Remember when you bought generic paper towels for the first time? I thought you were going to cry." "I did cry," she admitted. "But now I calculate how much we save annually by buying generic, and that makes me cry happy tears instead." The front door opened and Rowan burst in, still wearing his art store apron. "Val, you have to see this." He thrust a magazine at me. "Page 32. I flipped to the page and froze. There was a full-page feature about emerging artists, with my triptych prominently displayed. "Read the last paragraph," Rowan urged. "Perhaps most remarkable is not just McBride's artistic talent," I read aloud, "but the story behind her rise. In saving her family from financial ruin, she transformed not just their circumstances, but their understanding of art, value, and family itself." "They interviewed me for that piece," Rowan said proudly. "The reporter said I explained the symbolism better than some professional critics." Dad looked up from his measuring. "Speaking of explaining things, don't you have that school presentation today?" "Yeah, career day at the high school." Rowan straightened his apron. "I'm talking about careers in art and gallery management. Can you believe it?" "More than I can believe these bank statements," Mom muttered, but she was smiling. "Our credit scores have all gone up another 20 points. The doorbell rang. Gia and Jonah stood on the porch, carrying coffee and pastries. "Emergency meeting," Gia announced, sweeping in. "Marcus Sterling's assistant just called. He wants to move up the city show by 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Mom immediately reached for her planning notebook. "We'll need to adjust the shipping schedule, revise the catering deposits." "Already handled," Jonah said. "The real issue is the new piece he requested. He wants something that captures this whole journey." I walked to my studio. My proper studio now. Not just a corner of the garage. Half-finished canvases lined the walls, each telling part of our story. "I might have something," I said slowly, pulling out a canvas I'd been working on secretly. "It's not quite finished, but..." They gathered around as I unveiled it. The painting showed a family, their figures initially scattered and shadowed, gradually coming together in increasingly bright light. In the foreground, a young woman held both a paintbrush and a key. "Is that us?" Dad asked softly. "It's called redemption," I said, "because that's what this was really about. Not revenge. Not really." "It's perfect," Rowan declared. "But maybe add some texture in this corner? Like you taught me about creating depth?" I laughed. "Look who's becoming the expert." "Well, I did learn from the best." He checked his watch. "I better get to that presentation. Those high school kids need to know that art isn't just a hobby. It can save your family and your soul." After he left, Mom finished her calculations. "Even with the accelerated timeline, we're still under budget. I've been putting aside a percentage of every sale for emergencies." "My responsible mother," I said, squeezing her shoulder. "Who would have thought? Who would have thought any of this?" Dad gestured around the room, at the art, the planning notebooks, the family photos now mixed with gallery invitations and positive bank statements. Gia raised her coffee cup. "To the power of revenge gone right." "To family," I corrected, picking up my paintbrush. "Now, who wants to help me finish this piece?" "Dad, I need one of your special finish frames. Mom, can you calculate the optimal pricing? Rowan can practice his explanation when he gets back." "And what should I do?" Jonah asked. I handed him a brush. "You believed in my art from the beginning. Help me show them how it all comes together." As my family gathered around the canvas, each contributing their newfound skills and understanding, I realized something profound. The revenge I'd planned had transformed into something far more powerful than punishment. It had become a restoration, of our home, our relationships, our dignity. You know, Mom said, watching me add final touches to the painting, I used to think you were wasting your talent. Now I realize you were just waiting for the right moment to show us its true worth. Worth isn't just about money, I replied, thinking of the triptych we'd refused to sell. No, Dad agreed. Sometimes it's about what you build together. Through the window, I could see Rowan returning, gesturing excitedly as he talked to a student who'd followed him home. Probably another art convert. I added one final brushstroke to redemption, a small light, breaking through the shadows, showing the way forward. There, I said. Now it's complete. Just like us.
The day I discovered my parents had stolen my inheritance, I was wearing the fake Cartier bracelet my mother had given me for my 20th birthday. The irony wasn't lost on me. My name is Lily, and I grew up believing I was the luckiest girl in the world. Our mansion in Beverly Hills, the luxury cars, the endless shopping sprees, it all seemed like a fairy tale, until I realized I was paying for everyone else's happily ever after. "Darling, you're being dramatic," my mother Malia said, barely looking up from her phone as I stood in her bedroom doorway, clutching the bank statements I'd found hidden in Father's study. "We're your parents. Everything we do is for your benefit." $3 million, Mom. My trust fund is empty." My voice cracked, but I forced myself to stay steady. "Grandmother left that money for my education and future." She finally looked up, her perfectly manicured eyebrows arching. "Well, your father and I needed to make some investments. The market hasn't been kind lately." "Investments like your new Bentley? Or Charlie's apartment in Manhattan?" "Don't be petty, Lily. Your sister needed a proper place to live while pursuing her acting career." She stood up, smoothing her silk robe. "Besides, you're doing fine at law school with your scholarship." I watched her walk to her vanity, picking up an expensive face cream. The same cream I'd seen her buy 6 times this month alone, with my money. "Where's Dad?" I asked, knowing he'd be easier to crack than her. "At the club, some business meeting with the Harveys." She waved dismissively. "Don't bother him with this nonsense." I turned to leave, but her voice stopped me. "Oh, and darling, wear the blue Chanel to dinner tonight. The Harveys are coming over and Philip's been asking about you." I wanted to scream that I didn't care about Philip Harvey or his wandering eyes. Instead, I smiled sweetly. "Of course, Mother." Back in my room, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The scholarship my mother so casually mentioned. I'd fought tooth and nail for it, knowing they'd burned through my education fund years ago. My part-time job at the law library barely covered my textbooks, while Charlie got to pursue her dreams with my inheritance. A notification popped up on my phone, a message from Mr. Howard, my professor and mentor at law school. "Did you look into those trust fund clauses we discussed?" I typed back, "Yes, it's worse than we thought. Meeting tomorrow?" His reply was instant. "My office, 9 a.m., bring the documents." A knock at my door made me jump. My father, Brian, stood there, looking uncomfortable in his golf attire. "Your mother says you're upset about something? Did you know grandmother's trust fund is empty?" I asked directly. He shifted, avoiding my eyes. "The market's been volatile, sweetheart. We had to make some tough decisions." "Without consulting me? I'm 20, Dad, not 12. "Look, once these new business deals come through, like the ones with the Harveys," I interrupted. Something flickered across his face. "Fear? Who told you about that?" "Mom mentioned dinner tonight." He relaxed slightly, but not completely. "Right, dinner. Well, get dressed. And Lily?" He paused. "Some things are better left unquestioned." After he left, I walked to my window, watching him hurry to his car. That's when I noticed the envelope falling from his pocket. He didn't see it flutter to the ground. 20 minutes later, that envelope was in my hands, and its contents made my blood run cold. It wasn't just about my trust fund anymore. The web of lies and secrets went deeper than I'd imagined. I unclasped the fake Cartier bracelet and placed it on my desk. Mother's voice echoed in my head. "Everything we do is for your benefit." Well, maybe it was time to show them exactly what I'd learned from their example. Mr. Howard had been teaching me about contract law, about the intricate dance of power and control hidden in legal language. Tomorrow, I'd show him what I'd found, and together we'd start planning. My phone buzzed again, Charlie this time. Mom says you're being difficult. Don't ruin dinner tonight with your drama. I texted back, wouldn't dream of it, sis. Opening my closet, I pushed past the blue Chanel my mother wanted me to wear and pulled out a simple black dress instead. Tonight, I'd play the dutiful daughter one last time, but starting tomorrow, the real game would begin. Because what my family had forgotten was that I wasn't just their puppet anymore. I was a law student who'd learned from the best about how to use the system, and I had nothing left to lose. Well, nothing except this fake bracelet. Contract law isn't just about signatures and clauses, Mr. Howard said, tapping his finger on the document I'd brought him. It's about understanding human nature. People will sign anything if they think they're getting what they want. I leaned forward in his office chair, studying the papers spread across his desk. Even if what they want is built on lies? Especially then. He adjusted his reading glasses, examining the envelope I'd found. These dealings your father's involved in, they're questionable at best, illegal at worst. Can we use this? I asked. Mr. Howard's eyes met mine. Carefully, Lily. Very carefully. The moment you play this card, there's no going back. A knock interrupted us. Marshall, our family lawyer, stepped in. I tensed, but Mr. Howard smiled. Right on time, Marshall. Close the door, please. I turned to Mr. Howard, confused. You called him? Marshall here has been keeping tabs on your family's financial movements for years, Mr. Howard explained. He's got quite the story to tell. Marshall sat down, his usual polished demeanor slightly ruffled. Your father's been moving money through shell companies. The Harveys are involved, but they're just the tip of the iceberg. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Aren't you supposed to be loyal to them? I'm loyal to the law, Marshall replied, pulling out a USB drive. And to your grandmother's wishes. She made me promise to protect your interests. That evening, I sat at our dining table, watching my mother fuss over place settings, while my father paced near the window, phone pressed to his ear. The Harveys will be here any minute, Mother hissed at him. Get off that phone. He waved her away, his face pale. Listen, we need to move those funds now. Yes, tonight. Charlie swept in, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my semester's tuition. Mom, the caterers forgot the caviar. What? Mother's face contorted. I specifically ordered the Russian variety. Philip loves it. I suppressed a smile, remembering Marshall's words about the Harvey family's imminent bankruptcy. They were as fake as we were. The doorbell rang. Showtime. Lily, darling! Philip's mother air-kissed my cheeks. Still buried in those law books? Actually, I smiled, I'm specializing in financial law now. Fascinating stuff. Philip's father coughed uncomfortably. My father's hand tightened around his whiskey glass. Dinner was a masterclass in upper-class tension. Mother prattled about Charlie's latest audition while Mrs. Harvey complimented the missing caviar. I watched my father and Mr. Harvey exchange meaningful glances between courses. So, Philip, Mother cooed, tell us about your new venture. Philip launched into a rehearsed speech about cryptocurrency and sustainable energy. I noticed my father's subtle headshake. Sounds risky, I commented innocently, especially with the new SEC regulations on digital assets. The table fell silent. Philip's fork clattered against his plate. You follow financial regulations? Mr. Harvey asked, trying to sound casual. Oh yes, I smiled. Mr. Howard, my professor, says they're crucial for understanding modern business practices. He's actually consulting with the SEC now. My father stood abruptly. Shall we move to the living room for drinks? Later that night, after the Harveys left, I heard my parents arguing in their room. She knows something, Father's voice carried through the door. Don't be ridiculous, Mother snapped. She's just showing off. Besides, we have bigger problems. The bank called about the mortgage. I told you we shouldn't have touched her trust fund. If this gets out... If what gets out? I asked, pushing open their door. They froze. Mother recovered first. Nothing, darling. Adult concerns. Really? I pulled out my phone, showing them the banking app. Because I just got an interesting alert about attempts to access my personal account. Father stepped forward. Lily, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I met his gaze. You're desperate. The Harveys are broke. Your investments are failing. And now you're trying to drain what little I have left. How dare you? Mother advanced on me. After everything we've done for you. You mean everything you've done with my money? I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mom, that Cartier bracelet you gave me? The fake one? I had it appraised today. Interesting story about where it came from. I closed their door on their stunned faces, my heart pounding. In my room, I opened my laptop and typed a message to Mr. Howard. They took the bait. What's next? His reply came quickly. Tomorrow, we start phase 2. Sleep well, Lily. You'll need it. I touched the empty spot on my wrist where the bracelet used to be. Phase 2 would hurt. But then again, that was the point. The key I found in Mother's drawer was small and antique, the kind that might open an old jewelry box. But when I showed it to Marshall, his face went white. Where did you get this? He asked, turning it over in his hands. Hidden in a false bottom of her vanity drawer. Why? Marshall pulled out an old file from his briefcase. Because this key opens a safety deposit box at First National, your grandmother's safety deposit box. We sat in his downtown office, the morning sun casting long shadows across his desk. He spread out several documents pointing to signatures and dates. Your mother told the bank this box was empty after your grandmother died. Had it cleared out. He tapped the key. But this is the original key, and according to bank records, the box is still active. What's in it? Only one way to find out. An hour later, we stood in the bank's vault room. The manager, an older woman named Rita, examined our paperwork. Everything seems in order, she said, inserting her master key alongside mine. As Ms. Mack's legal representative and heir, you have full access. The box was larger than I expected. Inside, we found stacks of letters, legal documents, and a sealed envelope addressed to me. Read it, Marshall urged. My hand shook as I opened it. My dearest Lily, if you're reading this, then my suspicions about your mother were correct. The documents in this box prove that she and your father have been embezzling from the family company for years. They didn't just steal your inheritance. They stole from everyone, including my sister Angela. There's a trust in your name they don't know about. Marshall has the details. Be smarter than I was. Love, grandmother. Angela? I looked at Marshall. My aunt? Mother told me she died years ago. Marshall shook his head. Very much alive, living in Seattle. Your mother forced her out of the company through fraud, then spread lies about her having a mental breakdown. My phone buzzed. Charlie. Where are you? Mom's freaking out about some missing key. Let her freak out, I muttered, then turned to Marshall. What's our next move? First, we document everything here. Then I think it's time you met your aunt. Back home, Mother was tearing through her room like a hurricane. Where have you been? She demanded when she saw me. Have you seen a small silver key? No, I lied smoothly. Lost something important? She grabbed my arm. Don't play games with me, Lily. If you took it, take your hands off me. My voice was ice. And maybe explain why you told me Aunt Angela was dead. She released me as if burned. Who told you about her? Does it matter? What matters is you lied. Again. I protected you, she hissed. Angela was unstable, dangerous. Dangerous to your schemes, maybe. I pulled out my phone, showing her a photo of one of grandmother's documents. Like this contract you forged? The one that stole her shares? The blood drained from her face. Where did you get that? I learned from the best, Mother. You taught me how to take what I want. Your father will hear about this. Good, I smiled. Tell him I found grandmother's safety deposit box, too. I'm sure he'll be thrilled. I left her standing there, hands shaking. In my room, I called the number Marshall had given me. Hello? A warm voice answered. Aunt Angela, this is Lily. Silence then. I've waited so long for this call. I know what Mother did to you, I said. I have proof. Lily, she said softly, are you sure you want to do this? Once you start, they stole everything from you, from me, from grandmother. Yes, she sighed, they did. Then help me make it right. We talked for an hour, planning. When we hung up, I had another message from Mr. Howard. Documents are ready. Tomorrow we move on your parents' accounts. I walked to my window, watching Mother's car speed out of the driveway. She was probably running to Father, planning their next move, but for the first time I was steps ahead of them. My laptop pinged, an email from Marshall with the trust documents Grandmother had mentioned. The amount made me gasp. All this time, there had been a safety net I never knew about. Charlie barged in without knocking. What did you say to Mom? She's completely lost it. Truth hurts, doesn't it? She narrowed her eyes. What's that supposed to mean? Ask her about Aunt Angela, I suggested. Ask her where your fancy apartment's money really came from. You're just jealous, she snapped, but I saw doubt flicker in her eyes. No, Charlie, I'm just awake. After she left, I opened my safe and added the key to my growing collection of evidence. Tomorrow we'd start freezing accounts and filing injunctions, but tonight I had one more call to make. Mr. Harvey, it's Lily. We need to talk about my father's investments. I think you'll find what I have to say very interesting. The game was changing, and this time I was dealing the cards. The coffee shop was busy, but I spotted Aunt Angela immediately. She had Grandmother's eyes, sharp, intelligent, and kind. When she hugged me, I caught the faint scent of jasmine, just like in my childhood memories. You look so much like her, Angela said, sitting down. Your grandmother would be proud. Would she? I'm about to destroy her daughter's life. Your mother destroyed her own life. Angela stirred her coffee. And mine, and nearly yours. I pulled out the documents Marshall had prepared. Tell me what really happened. Your mother was always jealous of my relationship with your grandmother. When the company started struggling, she saw her chance. Angela's hands trembled slightly. She forged my signature, claimed I was having mental issues. By the time I realized what was happening, she'd convinced everyone I was unstable. And Father? Brian was weak, still is. He knew what she did but chose to look the other way. She reached into her bag. I kept everything, every threatening letter, every forged document. My phone buzzed. Mother calling. I declined it. They're panicking, I said. Mr. Harvey called them this morning about pulling out of their deals. Good. Angela smiled grimly. How's Charlie taking it? She's confused, angry. Yesterday she found out her trust fund is frozen. And the contracts? I pulled out more papers. Ready. Mother's been signing documents without reading them for weeks, too busy planning her charity gala. The annual Mac Family Foundation event? Angela laughed. The irony. It's tomorrow night. Everyone will be there. The board members, the Harveys, all their society friends. I showed her the guest list. The perfect audience. My phone buzzed again. Charlie this time. We need to talk. Now. Go, Angela said. Remember, you don't have to do this alone anymore. I found Charlie waiting in my room, clutching her laptop. What the hell is this? She turned the screen toward me, showing a bank statement. My accounts are frozen. Ask Mother about it. I did. She's hysterical, saying you're trying to ruin us. She grabbed my arm. What are you doing, Lily? Getting back what's mine. What's ours if you'd open your eyes. By destroying our family? They destroyed it first. I sat beside her. Did you know we have an aunt living in Seattle? What? No. Mom said all our relatives are dead. Yeah, that's what she told me too. I showed her the photos from my meeting with Angela. Mother stole her shares, her reputation, everything. Charlie stared at the photos, at Angela's familiar features. But why? The same reason she stole my inheritance, and probably yours too. I pulled out more documents. Look at these. Really look. She read silently, her face growing paler. These numbers. This can't be right. It is. They've been stealing for years, from everyone. The apartment in Manhattan was bought with stolen money, just like everything else. She stood up, pacing. What do we do? We? Yesterday you called me jealous. I was wrong, okay? Her voice cracked. I'm sorry, just tell me what to do. I handed her a contract. Sign this. It gives control of your assets back to you, not them. They'll be furious. They're already furious, but tomorrow night at the gala, they'll be destroyed. My phone buzzed. Marshall. Papers filed, accounts secured, ready for tomorrow. Charlie read the message over my shoulder. You're really doing this? Yes. Are you with me? She took a deep breath and signed the contract. What about the gala? Wear something black, I smiled. It's going to be a funeral for their reputation. Later that night, I heard Mother on the phone, her voice shrill with panic. The caterers won't accept our cards. What do you mean our accounts are frozen? Fix this, Brian. Father's heavy footsteps passed my door. Lily, we need to talk. I opened the door. He looked older, defeated. About what, Dad? The money you stole? Aunt Angela? Or the Harveys pulling out? You don't understand the pressure we were under. Save it for tomorrow night. Everyone will be there to hear your explanations. Please, he whispered. Don't do this. Like you didn't do this to Aunt Angela? To grandmother? To me? He reached for me, but I stepped back. I'm your father. No, I said quietly. You're just the man who helped steal my future. Now get out. After he left, I called Mr. Howard. Everything's ready. Charlie signed. Good. Marshall has the injunctions prepared. The board members are already asking questions. And the press? We'll be there, thanks to an anonymous tip about financial irregularities at the Mack Family Foundation. I hung up and looked at my reflection. Tomorrow I'd wear grandmother's pearls. The real ones, not the fakes Mother had given me. It seemed fitting. My phone lit up one last time. Angela. Remember, justice doesn't have to mean cruelty. I touched the pearls at my throat. Tomorrow would be about justice, yes. But mercy? That remained to be seen. The gala buzzed with nervous energy. Mother fluttered around the grand ballroom like a trapped butterfly, her smile growing more strained with each declined credit card and whispered conversation. Father stood by the bar, downing his third scotch, while Mr. Harvey avoided his desperate glances. Quite a turnout, Marshall murmured, appearing beside me. The board members are in position. I nodded, watching Charlie work the room in her black dress. She was doing her part perfectly, dropping subtle hints about financial concerns to all the right people. Your mother's looking for you, he added. She's figured out something's happening tonight. Let her look. I smoothed my grandmother's pearls. Is Angela ready? In the lobby. She'll enter when you give the signal. Mother spotted me then, cutting through the crowd like a shark. Lily, where have you been? The Harveys are acting strange, and the caterers are demanding payment up front. Maybe because our accounts are frozen? I suggested innocently. Her perfectly made-up face paled. What did you do? Nothing yet, but it's coming. I gestured to the gathering crowd. You might want to prepare yourself. You ungrateful little... She grabbed my arm, but I pulled away. Don't make a scene, Mother. You've got enough problems tonight. Philip Harvey approached, his usual arrogance replaced by barely concealed panic. Mrs. Mack, we need to discuss the investment situation immediately. Not now, Philip, she hissed. Yes, now. His voice cracked. The SEC is asking questions about all of us. I left them arguing and found Charlie by the champagne table. How's it going? Mrs. Peterson from the board nearly fainted when I mentioned the audit. Charlie sipped her drink. Dad's lawyer just arrived. He looks terrified. Good. I checked my phone. A message from Mr. Howard. Press is outside. Ready when you are. Mother clinked her glass for attention, her voice artificially bright. Welcome, everyone. The Mack Family Foundation is so proud. Actually, I cut in, stepping onto the small stage. I think it's time for a different speech. The room fell silent. Father started forward, but Marshall blocked his path. For years, I continued, this foundation has represented wealth, privilege, and charitable giving, but it was built on lies. I nodded to Marshall, who began distributing folders to the board members. What you're receiving are copies of bank statements, forged documents, and proof of systematic fraud orchestrated by my parents. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mother lunged for the stage, but Charlie caught her arm. "Let her speak," Charlie said firmly. "They stole my inheritance," I announced. "They stole from the company, and they stole from someone else, someone they told everyone was dead." The ballroom doors opened. Angela walked in, head high. "Oh my God," someone whispered. "That's Angela." Mother's face went from white to gray. Father dropped his scotch glass. "Hello, Malia," Angela said clearly. "It's been a while." The room erupted in chaos. Board members flipped through documents, whispering furiously. The Harveys tried to slip out, but security blocked the exits. "This is ridiculous," Mother shouted. "She's mentally unstable." "No, Malia," Mr. Howard stepped forward. "The SEC has confirmed every document. Your fraud is exposed." "Brian?" Mother turned to Father. "Do something." But Father just stood there, shoulders slumped. "It's over, Malia." "The police are outside," I announced, along with reporters. "The board has already voted to freeze all foundation assets pending investigation." Philip Harvey suddenly bolted for a side door. 2 security guards caught him as he ran. "The Harveys' involvement has also been documented," Marshall added. "No one's escaping this." Mother collapsed into a chair, her perfect world crumbling. Charlie walked to the stage and stood beside me. "We trusted you," Charlie said to our parents. "You betrayed everyone in this room." The next hour was a blur of police statements, reporter questions, and shocked conversations. I watched as Mother and Father were escorted out, as board members huddled with lawyers, as years of lies unraveled in a single evening. Angela found me on the balcony afterward. "You did well." "Did I?" I looked at the chaos below. "It doesn't feel like a victory." "It's justice," she said softly. "Sometimes that hurts more than revenge." My phone buzzed, a text from Father. "I'm sorry for everything." Charlie joined us, her makeup smeared from crying. "The police want more statements tomorrow, and the press won't leave." "Let them stay," I said. "No more hiding the truth." We stood together, 3 women bound by more than blood, watching as the foundation's sign was taken down from the building's facade. "What happens now?" Charlie asked. "Now," Angela smiled, "we rebuild. The right way." I touched my grandmother's pearls one last time before unclasping them. The weight lifted from my neck, but a different weight settled in my chest. This was just the beginning. "Come on," I said to them both. "We have work to do." Behind us, the ballroom lights dimmed on empty champagne glasses and scattered documents. The remains of a dynasty built on lies, finally exposed to the truth. The morning after the gala, I found Father sitting alone in our kitchen, staring at a cup of cold coffee. He looked smaller somehow, his designer suit replaced by an old sweater. "The police took your mother to the station an hour ago," he said without looking up. "She's being charged with fraud." "And you?" "My lawyer negotiated a deal. I'm cooperating fully." He finally met my eyes. "I deserve whatever's coming." I poured myself coffee, the familiar routine feeling strange in our changed world. "Why did you do it? Was money really worth destroying everyone?" "It started small," he sighed. "A little creative accounting here, a shifted investment there. Your mother, she always wanted more, and I was too weak to stop her." The doorbell rang. Marshall entered with a stack of papers, nodding to us both. "The press is camped outside. We should discuss damage control." "I'll get Charlie," I said, but Father's voice stopped me. "Wait, there's something you need to see first." He led us to his study, unlocking a hidden safe behind a painting. Inside was a worn leather journal. "Your grandmother's," he explained. "She knew what we were doing. She tried to stop us, to protect you girls." His hands shook. "The night she died, she made me promise to give this to you when the truth came out." I took the journal, its pages filled with grandmother's elegant handwriting. Dates, transactions, warnings. She'd documented everything. "She died thinking I'd keep my promise," Father whispered. "Instead, I helped your mother hide it all." Marshall cleared his throat. "The board's meeting today. They're voting to dissolve the foundation." "Good," I said. "Let it burn." My phone buzzed. "Angela." Turn on the news. The TV showed Mother being led into court, her designer outfit replaced by something plain and dark. Reporters swarmed the steps, shouting questions. The SEC is investigating the Harveys, too, Marshall added. Philip's father had a heart attack this morning. Something twisted in my stomach. This was what I wanted, wasn't it? Justice? Charlie appeared, her face drawn. Mom's asking to see us. No, I said immediately. Lily, Father touched my arm. You won something bigger than revenge. Maybe now it's time for what? Forgiveness? I pulled away. She stole our future, destroyed Angela's life, betrayed grandmother. And she'll pay for that, Marshall interrupted. But your father's right. Don't let this consume you like it consumed her. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Mr. Howard, looking grave. The media's requesting interviews, and the university board wants to speak with you. About what? Your scholarship. Given the publicity, they're concerned about association. They can't take that from me, I snapped. I earned it. We'll fight it, he assured me. But you need to decide what kind of story you want to tell. Revenge doesn't look good on college applications. I sank into Father's chair, suddenly exhausted. The journal lay heavy in my lap. There's something else, Father said quietly. Your mother. She's not well. The doctors at the holding facility. Don't, I warned. She had a breakdown, Lily. She's asking for help. Charlie sat beside me. I'm going to see her. Come with me. Why should I? Because we're better than them, she said simply. Isn't that the point? I opened grandmother's journal, finding the last entry. My dearest Lily, remember that the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemies, but in refusing to become them. My phone buzzed again. Angela. Want company at the hospital? I looked around the study. Father, broken but honest at last. Charlie, stronger than I'd ever given her credit for. Marshall and Mr. Howard, who'd helped me fight fair instead of dirty. Okay, I said finally, but first I need to do something. I called the university board, scheduling a meeting. Then I called the press. You're going public? Marshall asked. Yes, but not with a revenge story. I held up the journal. With her story, grandmother's truth. Father smiled for the first time in days. She'd like that. The foundation's finished, I continued. But maybe we can build something new, something honest. Together? Charlie asked. Together. Later, standing in the hospital parking lot with Angela and Charlie, I thought about Mother waiting inside, about choices and consequences, about becoming the person grandmother believed I could be. Ready? Angela squeezed my hand. No, I wasn't ready. But I was something better. I was choosing to be stronger than my anger. Yes, I said. Let's go. Behind us, the sun set on the wreckage of our old life. But ahead, through the hospital doors, lay the harder path, the path of healing, of rebuilding, of becoming something more than our parents' mistakes. It wasn't the victory I'd planned. It was better. Mother sat in the hospital's visiting room, her designer clothes replaced by plain white cotton. Without her makeup and perfectly styled hair, she looked older, smaller, almost human. My girls, she whispered as Charlie and I entered. You came. Don't, I said when she tried to stand. Just don't. Angela waited outside, giving us privacy. The guard by the door kept his eyes fixed straight ahead. They're saying I'm unstable, Mother said, her hands fidgeting with her sleeve. But I did it all for us, for our family. Stop lying, Charlie snapped. Even now you're still lying. Mother's face crumpled. I don't know how to be any other way. Try the truth, I suggested. Just once. She looked between us, then at her hands. I was afraid, she whispered, of being poor, of losing status, of being nothing, like my own mother. So you stole from everyone? Destroyed Angela's life? Angela was everything I couldn't be. Grandmother's favorite, smart, genuine. Her voice cracked. I hated her for it. The door opened and Marshall entered with a thick folder. The prosecutors are here. They need your decision about the plea deal. Mother's eyes darted to the folder. How long? 5 years minimum, plus restitution. Marshall laid out the papers. You'll lose everything. I already have. She looked at us. Haven't I? Before I could respond, Father appeared in the doorway. He'd brought grandmother's journal. The board voted, he announced. The foundation's officially dissolved, but they're offering Lily and Charlie positions on the new oversight committee. New committee? Mother asked. We're rebuilding, I explained, but with transparency this time. Angela's helping. Angela? Mother's hand trembled. She's here? Yes, Angela said, stepping into the room. Hello, sister. Mother started crying then, real tears, not the theatrical ones she'd used for manipulation all our lives. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. Save it, Angela said firmly. Your apologies mean nothing without action. Marshall cleared his throat. The plea deal includes mandatory therapy and full disclosure of all financial dealings. Including grandmother's death? I asked sharply. The room went still. Mother's sobs stopped. What about her death? Charlie asked. Father opened the journal. She knew, didn't she? He asked Mother. About the embezzlement. She was going to expose everything. She had a heart attack, Mother whispered. After you threatened her, I said, pulling out a letter from my bag. I found this in the safety deposit box, her last written words, saying she was afraid of you. Mother closed her eyes. I never touched her. But you caused it, Angela said. The stress, the fear, the betrayal. Add it to the plea deal, I told Marshall. Full confession about everything, or we go to trial. You'd do that? Mother asked. Send me to prison for longer? You sent yourself there, Charlie replied. We're just making sure you face it all. Father stepped forward with a pen. Sign it, Malia. Give them this at least. Mother's hand shook as she took the pen. Will you visit me? That depends, I said, on whether you actually change. She signed the papers. Marshall gathered them quickly, nodding to the prosecutors waiting outside. The press conference is in an hour, he reminded me. Are you ready? I touched grandmother's pearls, which I'd put on for strength. Yes. What will you tell them? Mother asked. The truth, all of it. How you stole from your family, betrayed your sister, drove your mother to her death. How greed destroyed everything. And then? And then we rebuild, without you. The guard stepped forward, indicating time was up. Mother stood, suddenly looking desperate. I do love you, she said. Both of you, in my way. Your way wasn't love, Charlie replied. It was possession. We left her there, crying in her white cotton clothes. Outside, Angela hugged us both. You did well, she said. Your grandmother would be proud. Father joined us, looking tired but relieved. The prosecutors say it's a solid deal. She'll serve her time. And you? I asked. Community service, financial penalties, I'll lose my license. He shrugged. It's fair. My phone buzzed. Mr. Howard. Press is gathering. Time to tell your story. We walked together toward the hospital exit, past the reporters already assembling. Through the window, I caught one last glimpse of Mother being led away by guards. Ready? Angela asked, straightening my collar. I thought about grandmother's words in her journal. The truth isn't always pretty, but it's always powerful. Yes, I said. I'm ready to tell the truth. Behind us, Mother disappeared into the hospital's depths. Ahead, cameras flashed and reporters called my name. But for the first time since this all began, I felt light, free. The truth was waiting, and so was our future. The morning sun streamed through grandmother's study window as I cleared the last of the boxes. Her journal lay open on the desk, its pages now familiar companions. Found something interesting, Charlie called from the doorway, holding up a dusty photo album. Look at this. The photos showed Mother and Angela as young girls, smiling and hugging, before greed poisoned everything. Hard to believe they were ever that close, I said, just as Angela walked in. We were inseparable once, she sighed, taking the album, until money became more important than family. The doorbell rang. Marshall arrived with the final paperwork for the new foundation. The board approved everything, he announced, spreading documents across grandmother's desk. The restoration project is officially ready to launch. She would have loved that name, Angela smiled. Restoring more than just money. Father appeared with coffee for everyone. He looked healthier now, the guilt and secrets no longer weighing him down. The first grants go out next week, he said. All to families affected by financial fraud. The press is calling it revolutionary. Speaking of press, Charlie held up her phone. Mother's interview is airing. We gathered around the screen, watching Mother in her prison uniform. She looked different, humbled, maybe even genuine. I destroyed my family for status, she said on screen. I lost everything that actually mattered. Do you believe her? Charlie asked softly. Time will tell, Angela replied. Change is possible, but it has to be earned. My phone buzzed. Mr. Howard. University board meeting in an hour. Big announcement. Go, Angela urged. We'll finish here. At the university, Mr. Howard met me outside the boardroom. Ready to make history? Inside, the board members sat expectantly. The chairman stood. Ms. Lilly, he began, your story has inspired changes in how we handle financial aid and scholarship protection. We'd like you to head our new Student Financial Rights Committee. I thought of all the students like me, vulnerable to financial manipulation. Yes, I'll do it. Back at grandmother's house, I found Charlie and Angela in the garden, planting roses, grandmother's favorites. How'd it go? Charlie asked. We're expanding the mission, I said. The foundation will partner with the university. We're creating safeguards for student inheritances. Perfect, Angela nodded. Protection and education together. Father called us inside. Marshall had more news. The Harveys are cooperating, he reported. Their testimony exposed 3 more fraud rings. The SEC is calling it a domino effect. And Mother? I asked. Starting therapy, actually participating. He hesitated. She asked to contribute to the foundation's mission, wants to share her story as a warning to others. I touched grandmother's pearls. Let her earn it first. The doorbell rang again. This time it was a delivery, a package from Mother's prison. Inside was her old Cartier bracelet, the real one, with a note. I kept the real one for myself and gave you a fake. It's time to make that right. The first of many wrongs to correct. Mom. Well, Charlie said, it's a start. We spent the rest of the day planning the foundation's launch. Angela's legal expertise, Father's business connections, Charlie's social media skills, everyone contributing to build something honest. As sunset painted the study golden, I sat at grandmother's desk, feeling her presence. We did it, I whispered, touching her journal. We restored what matters. Not just restored, Angela said, overhearing. We built something stronger. My phone lit up with a message from the prison chaplain. Your mother attended her first reconciliation meeting. She talked about you, about pride and regret, about hope. Hope. Not revenge, not victory, but hope. For change, for healing, for second chances earned through hard work and truth. The roses are blooming, Charlie called from the garden. Come see. We gathered outside, watching the sunset paint grandmother's roses gold. The thorns were still there, but so was the beauty, like our family, scarred but healing, complicated but real. To grandmother, Angela raised her coffee cup, who taught us that the greatest inheritance isn't money. To truth, Father added. To restoration, Charlie smiled. I looked at my family, broken, rebuilt, stronger. At the house where secrets once festered, now filled with light and honesty. At grandmother's roses, thorny but blooming. To real love, I said, the kind that's earned, not bought. The setting sun warmed my face as I added Mother's bracelet to grandmother's jewelry box. Inside, the fake one lay discarded, a reminder of who we were. But the real one shone beside grandmother's pearls, a symbol of who we could become. Not perfect, not easy, but real. And that was the greatest restoration of all.